Good evening. This is Ann Horner, chairing the Facilities Committee meeting tonight on Thursday, November 6th. I will start with roll call to my left.
Linda Stone, School Board. Nicole Khan, School Board.
Christian Ola, IT Department.
Jutta Pali, School Board.
Ed Tate, School Board.
Tracy Oseki, School Board.
Bob Hickey, School Board.
Jessica Binda, Supervisor of Facilities.
Tony Rapp, Director of Business Administration.
Andy Sanko, Superintendent.
Joe Hidalgo, School Board.
I'm ready to turn it over to Ms. Binda.
Thank you. A reminder that for the most accurate and reliable information concerning our district, please refer to resources, websites, and social media platforms managed by the Council Rock School District. We advise the community to exercise caution when relying on the accuracy of social media and ask the community to verify any social media content with the district for accuracy. If you question what you are seeing, need a fact check, or additional details on a matter, please reach out to the district directly. Our contact information is readily available on our website at crsd.org. Okay, for this evening, we have a number of items on the agenda. First, we have the Chancellor Center Architectural Services and Construction Management Services, Newtown Elementary and Holland Middle Schools Architectural Services and Construction Management Services, Maintenance Trucks Replacement Bid 2536, Box Truck Replacement Bid 2549, Churchville Elementary School Johnson Controls HVAC Controls Upgrade Change Order, termination of emergency generator inspection and maintenance contract, the new emergency generator inspection and maintenance contract bid 2550, asbestos abatement at Twining Ford Road and Sale House, and the proposed 2026 summer projects. So start off with a reminder of the options for Chancellor Center. Option 1 is the limited items from the CIP assessment, the warm, safe, and dry renovations. The total construction budget is $6.3 million. The total project budget range is between $8.6 million and $8.7 million. Option 2, all items from the CIP assessment. The construction budget $7.1 million. Total project budget range $9.7 million to $9.9 million. And option 3 is the full renovations. The construction budget is $13.3 million with a total project budget range of $18.1 million to $18.4 million. Again, a recap from last meeting. The Chancellor Center Architectural Design Services, we had 19 firms attend the mandatory pre-proposal conference walkthrough. The district received 11 proposal submissions from firms. 4 firms were invited to the presentation interview process, and recommended selection is Murata, Maine. Above gives the cost for Murata, Maine to design option 1, 2, and 3. Option 1 is $418,950. Option 2 is $465,050. And option 3 is $804,650. Then we move on to the construction management services for Chancellor. Again, a recap of 5 firms attended the mandatory pre-proposal conference and walkthrough. We received 4 proposal submissions. 2 firms were invited to the presentation interview process. And we were recommending selection of Boyle Construction. Again, the 3 options, the cost for the 3 options are listed. Option 1, $282,000. Option 2, $310,500. And option 3 is $424,500. After the last meeting, we were asked to have Murata, Maine, and Boyle do an independent assessment of the building to make their recommendation. So I would like to introduce Murata, Maine, and Boyle Construction. I'm going to quickly switch over to their slides. And I'm going to hand the presentation over to Don Main first, and he'll do some introductions.
So good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Don Main, and I'm one of the founding principal architects with Marana Main Architects. In addition, from our firm, we have Christopher Peters, who's another principal architect with the practice, and Kelsey Gibson, who is an AXB architect and project manager with the firm.
My name is Chris Haller. I'm a senior project manager with Boyle Construction, and I will be the face that you see throughout the project.
So we've organized a presentation here this evening to provide a little bit of background about our firms and relevant experience, especially buildings of this age and type. And then from there, I'll hand it over to Christopher, who's going to run through our process, going over the goals for the project, running through the work that we've done over the past past month to gain a better understanding of the project, surveys of the building, etc. And then we will then go into the review of the options and our shared option between Marana Main and Boyle, our shared recommendation of the best path forward for the project, and turn it over to Chris to discuss the schedule and costs associated. So just want to, from a process standpoint, just point out that the work to date has been pre-design work, so we haven't really, the design process for a project of this scale is something that takes a year, and I know that from your meetings that you've discussed that, going through schematic design, drilling down on the scope and the budget, and then going into more detail in design development, and then going into construction documents. All of that takes a lot of input from the school district. There's a lot of detail that has to be combed through. So really, what we've been doing over the past month is we've been meeting weekly here at the district. We've been going through the project scope with the district administration. We've also brought in all of our engineering teams so that they could get an initial eye on the project. So we had a geotechnical engineer visit the site to look at the subsurface conditions with the water issues that are being experienced in the basement. We also brought our structural engineer who looked at the existing building in terms of its structural stability, also with the mechanical replacement, looking at the issues related to supporting new systems within the building and sort of the overall feasibility with that. And then we brought in our mechanical engineer who met with the facilities folks here and talked about systems options, and also our electrical engineer to look at the electrical systems in the building. So all those folks have been through the building and have been confirming the scope that's been discussed today. A little bit about our firm and our relevant experience to the project here at the Chancellor Center. Since forming our office in 2001, and our firm is a firm that's focused on educational projects. The majority of the educational work that we do is K through 12 in the state of Pennsylvania, but of our overall workload, 90% is educational, and of that, 75% of it is typically public K through 12 education. So this really is the focus of our team. But we've also had the opportunity and been excited by the opportunity to work on some great older buildings and historic buildings over the 25 years that we've been in practice. In our local communities, our commitment to historic projects, 3 of the 4 principals in our firm, including Christopher and myself, chair Historic Architectural Review Board for our local committees, our communities, so we're used to that process where I sit on a hard board, Christopher chairs the Historic Commission, we understand that process, what's applicable to be reviewed, what's not, and how those processes work. So we understand that from the other side of the table, as well as having lots of projects that go before those types of boards. And in addition to that, we just have 4 projects here. We had some additional in our submission, but 4 that we would lift up as example projects. The first 2 on the top are for the School District of Lancaster. They are buildings that hadn't been renovated for many, many years. Fulton Elementary School on the top right was the original boys' high school for the school district. It's now an elementary school. That building really hadn't been touched for 60-plus years. So comprehensive mechanical, electrical, plumbing system upgrades, and then also reconfiguration of the interior of the building to meet today's educational requirements, while respecting the historic nature of the building. And also there was more preservation. I know you've already gone through and done your window work and so forth here, but there we were sort of trying to undo some problems, that some things that had been done to that building that took away from its original historic appearance. So doing preservation work to return the exterior of the building. Very similar project on the left for Reynolds Middle School. So that's, again, an early 1900s building. Very similar project where we were got renovation of the inside of the building. Some of those classrooms there was no air conditioning in that building. Some of those classrooms would get up into close to 100 degrees in the spring and early fall. So again, a systems-focused project. Bottom left is an elementary school in Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania. That building was built in the early part of the 1900s. Unfortunately, the building during the energy crisis had been wrapped. There were very few historic details left, but we added a glass vestibule similar to the glass vestibule that's on this building to that building to highlight the historic pieces that were left on that building. And that really serves, it's a walking community, walking school that serves as a community entrance both in the morning for the students, but then also the community spaces are located in that addition. So we thought the building was similar to this building in some respects with that approach to the design. And then also we've done many projects in Gettysburg, both at the college but also at the seminary. So the bottom right photo is at Seminary Ridge in Gettysburg. Very high level of scrutiny there from a historic standpoint because of this was the site of the first day of battle during the Battle of Gettysburg. So this is Valentine Hall, which is an administrative building for the seminary. It also has some classroom space in it. What you're seeing in the foreground is an addition that we did to that building as well to provide ADA access and so forth. But that went through very stringent review where we were collaborating not only with the local historic district, but also with the National Park Service. So I'll turn it over here to Chris to share some of his. Okay.
All right, so just a little bit about Boyle. Boyle is about 30 years old, family-owned business. The current president of the company is Sean Boyle. His father started the company, and his son is vice president, being groomed to take over the company when Sean finally decides to retire. Don't anticipate that anytime soon. He doesn't seem like the kind of person that does retirement well. But some of our experience with some historic buildings, all these facilities are over 100 years old. The upper left is the courthouse in Carbon County. It's a very similar project to what you're looking at here. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing upgrades, and they did do a little bit of renovation work inside. That building is actually, I think, like 1860 is when it was built. Upper right, I'm sorry, the one upper right is 1860. That's the old Bethlehem steel plant. That was the iron house, and that was converted into their visiting center. We did that work. The Crayola factory in Easton, that's the old Grand factory. And they took about 5 buildings and tied them together to create an experience for children. And then the one right was an old one that the township wanted to salvage and convert into some public use spaces.
So I want to take us through some of what we've been talking about for the past month. Some of this will be review for you, so we're going to go through a couple slides really quickly. But we started with talking about goals for this project, obviously starting with really what's on the right side, students first always. We know this is an administration building, but we understand that that directly reflects or affects students. And so what goes on here is important, and we're talking about efficiencies and some other things, although students may not enter this building on a regular basis. But some of the other goals that no doubt you've talked about many times, the first two specifically, the water infiltration concerns, and then of course the outdated mechanical systems, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Mechanical or the building's historical integrity, we want to maintain that. We've talked about that a little bit. Maintaining or minimizing swing space. So it's important that, if you're vacating this building to do renovation, that you don't want to do that again in 6 years or 12 years. Maintaining fiscal responsibility to taxpayers, be a good neighbor to the community. Of course, if you have a project here and you have to do another project here in the near future, then you're disrupting neighbors again, twice. Obviously, create a warm, safe, and dry space, and then looking at increasing efficiency and utilization in this building. And we have a few slides on that as we were digging in the past month. A little bit background, this building is really 5 buildings maybe. We can say that presents some challenges in terms of flow and organization, in terms of obviously keeping up the historic integrity. Speaking of historic integrity, there's a couple old buildings, obviously maintaining what stonework is here is critical. We looked at that a little bit more in terms of some of that scope, the rooftop units. There are mechanical units actually on the roof, on the ground, in the attic, in the basement. So with this renovation with mechanical, can we improve on that? New systems, where are they gonna go? And then related to that, in terms of the below grade moisture issues around the building, obviously this project, all options will address that as well. A few pictures, in case you haven't been down in the basement in a little bit, just as a reminder, below grade moisture infiltration concerns. There's a couple wells that we popped to look down in there, investigating stormwater around. We won't dwell on a lot of these. The wells, the light wells that are in the upper right, there's 4 of them around the building. Those need to be replaced, and those are in the estimates there that you have in front of you. Thinking about how we can improve that and what we can do to benefit the spaces that are in the basement as part of this project is important. So some of those spaces are there. Obviously a little bit of paint spalling and things as well because of the below grade moisture. Again, mechanical systems, 4 different locations throughout the building, including outside. And then a few other things we're looking at, improving lighting, replacing some sinks. The electrical panels are on some of those wet walls with the paint spalling, and of course some of the boardroom AV issues that we want to address as part of this project. So one thing we looked at is space utilization, and we did 3 floor plans here analyzing the net to gross space utilization. What do you have in terms of mechanical space, stair space, corridor space, and then your occupied space? Looking at are there better ways that we can organize this building, the occupants of this building, to improve efficiencies, improve utilization, and really improve the quality of work also in these spaces. So this one specifically talking about some of the spaces are underutilized in the basement because of the moisture, because of some of the daylight concerns. And in other, And in other spaces, just thinking about, are there spaces that are underutilized in this building or overutilized? Do we have too many people in one area? Are the adjacencies incorrect so people aren't collaborating efficiently enough? Those are some of the things that we started to look at. Again, it was just a month. This would be part of the schematic design, talking to all the occupants and really dig in and understand that a little bit more. This was the upper floor plans. We started analyzing that. Floor plans. And then this is just a diagram of the basement, that daylight zone. Because we will be improving or installing a foundation drain and redoing those light wells, we're thinking if we can expand those and increase the daylight in the basement, we can increase the occupants in the basement. Obviously there'll be spaces where there are mechanical, there are spaces where there are no windows, and it's going to remain mechanical, it's going to remain electrical. But can we better utilize the basement space as part of this renovation? We're already doing the foundation drain, we're already doing the light well improvements. As we were looking at the options, we're thinking about what is some of the redundant work or the duplication of work if you're doing option 1 and option 2, which is not doing the full renovation. And so because of that, you might need to return to this building in X amount of years to do another project that would address deferred maintenance or other programmatic needs. So we listed a few things here that may be rework. So going back, replacing ceilings twice, or opening up chases twice. Obviously, if you have to move staff twice, you're moving them once for this project. If you're going to renovate an area in the future, you have to move them again. Additional contractor mobilization and project management. Inefficiencies with design or permit fees, so multiple projects, you have additional permit fees. There's just an efficiency with that. And then obviously the big one, if you're pushing some scope down the road, there's going to be escalation costs for all that work. So some considerations as we were talking about, what are the downsides of potentially doing less work with this scope, option 1 and option 2. That's where some of the things that came to mind. And then collectively as a group, Marauder, Maine, and Boyle looked at a recommended option, and I'll turn this over to Chris. He's going to go through the options here, the down arrow, and then just the analyzation of some of the options that we did over the past month.
So after we went through this, and looking at all the options and trying to weigh the pros and cons of each option, there are good and bad things with each option on the table. We collectively came to the thought that option 3 is really the school district's best option moving forward, for a lot of the reasons that Christopher just mentioned. It addresses all the goals. Options 1 and 2 address HVAC efficiencies, it addresses the water infiltration things, but it doesn't really let you get into the meat of how the building is used. Option 3 is the one that really allows you to do that. And then some of the soft costs, just explanation on that. I know you've done quite a few projects, so you're probably very savvy on soft costs. It's architect fees, construction management fees. For any of these projects, we'll have a third party coming in doing HVAC testing and balancing. That's part of the soft costs. It's everything that's not related to what is actually bid on the project. And we want to make sure that's a full picture. It's going to include, moving fees to move everybody out and move everybody back in. We just want to create a total picture for you. It's not just the cost of the construction. So the next 3 slides are the budgets that were provided to us in the request for proposals. And I just wanted to kind of go through them briefly and kind of address how they meet the goals that we work with the district administration. So option 1 was warm, safe, dry, and it addresses the water infiltration, mechanical system, and still maintains the building's integrity. But it really doesn't minimize your swing space time because, again, you're going to move out to this project, whichever one you select. If you defer projects to the future, you're going to have to move out again, partial or full, depends on what you choose to do and how you move forward. It doesn't really address the fiscal responsibility because deferring that work to the future, again, is going to cost more down the road. And it doesn't really help with addressing some of the inefficiencies that you have with utilizing the spaces. Option 2, while it addresses everything on your capital improvement plan, you would still be deferring some projects to the future because it doesn't address a full renovation of the building. And again, it would address the goals that pretty much that option 1 would address. And then looking at option 3, doing the full renovation, while it is the most expensive option on the table right now, we think in the long run that would address the issues. So for the next 20 years, you don't have to worry about this building. And it does address all the goals that were developed with working with your administration. So the other thing we wanted to do, yeah, went the right direction. The other thing we wanted to do was take a look at those budgets that were provided in the RFP and provide an opinion on what we think. And we think all of the budgets are good budgets. You're good with whatever option you choose. There are a couple things within those budgets that we think should have money allocated more than what's identified. But in that budget, you also have a design contingency associated with each one. So any of the items that we thought should have more money associated with it, those design contingencies actually address them. But what that means is, moving forward, that design contingency is going to be much smaller for the projects. So with options 1 and 2, you can see the design contingency for option 1 is $312,000. And we're estimating with the couple items that we think more money should be allocated to, it's about $243,000 altogether. So that design contingency is very small with option 1 and option 2, because option 2 is only $356,000. So those two projects, if you select one of those, we're going to have to keep a very close eye on the work that's going on and make sure there's no scope creep through those projects. Option 3 had a design contingency of $662,000. So at $243,000, a good design contingency where as we get into the project, if your administration sees something or there's something that we come across that's an unforeseen condition, you have money built into the budget to address that item. So option 3 has a good design contingency, even left over once we make the adjustments that we think need to be made to the budget. And then I just wanted to touch on the project schedule a little bit. So the schedule up here that is what was provided in the request for proposal, we think that is very doable, provided the school board select options 1, 2, or 3 this month. If there's a delay in selecting an option, there may be a delay in the design, the bidding, and then the construction phase. It rolls downhill. And then the bottom piece here, I just wanted to point out, right now you have 4 projects, 3 where you received proposals, and 1 that's still out for proposals. 3 and 1. So you have 4 projects right now. And this line here is the design phase for each one of those. This color here is the bidding phase. And then this color here is the construction phase. We want to make sure with this project, we work with you and the administration to help make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck as far as the scheduling of that work. We want to make sure we're not competing against ourselves with bidding 2 projects at the same time. So we just would like to talk with the administration and make sure the school district has really good bidding strategies moving forward with these, because it's these 4 projects. And I also saw on your agenda you're looking at possible summer projects for 2026. So I just want to make sure that all that's considered, and we don't just look at this one project as a standalone project, because you have a lot going on right now. And we just want to make sure that all that's thought of as we go through the planning of this project. That's it. Do you have any questions or?
Yeah, I know you talked about, you mentioned if we do a full renovation, we wouldn't be looking at any adjustments over the next 20 years. That's what you're projecting? What do you think the true longevity of this building is?
Oh, this building will last much longer. 20 years, that's usually the lifespan of mechanical equipment, plus or minus. If we do something with the roof, the flat roof, I think the shingle roof, is in pretty good shape. There are just components that go into the building that have a life expectancy of about 20, maybe 25 years.
And those components are sort of all through the building. So as we go to access them, we tear a big piece of the building apart. And so that's, some of the logic is if you're already tearing ceilings out, as Christopher said, and other infrastructure out to access those systems, it makes sense to address, at that time, it's most efficient to address programmatic needs, if there are programmatic needs, in addition to the systemic needs that the building has. That's the most cost-effective approach. You can do it, in 2 projects, but that's the most cost-effective.
The bones of this building are very good. This
Yeah.
building's gonna be here a long time.
This building, how old is this building?
1870, I think, was the
Was the
first
first
piece, which was a very small piece over there. And then I think the next piece was late 1800s. I think the most, taking out the lobby area with the glass wall, I think the most recent addition was like 1930s.
Yeah.
What, did you make adjustments to the contingencies that we're seeing that 610,000, 660, something like that, contingencies? And then I saw on the bottom, you had 650 to 700,000, and then lighting contingency, you had 4 numbers on, if you went back 2 slots there.
Right there.
What-
So we took a look at the budgets, and there were 4 line items within the options. And we looked at what we think the scope of work is and the budget that was set for them. And we thought those 4 items should have a little bit more money set aside for them, because we just don't know some of the things. One of them was those light wells. When we get down into those and start tearing apart, I mean, we're gonna find something that we just don't know or not expect. So I think the 660 for option 3 was a design, you have 660 for a design contingency and 660 for construction contingency, there's 2 contingencies there. The design contingency is just for these things, for what we don't know we're gonna run into through the design phase. So the 660, we think, could easily handle the additional 240. That way identify within those line items, and that still leaves about $350, $400 in the design contingency to address those things that we're just not expecting. And it may be like for the 600 for the concrete repairs. That may be a good number, but we think with the limited information that's out there on the issues, we feel a little more comfortable if that was bumped up a little bit. But again, the bottom line on your budget doesn't change.
So you didn't find anything where we overestimated and that budget can come down?
Well, the budget is an active design tool through the design process. So at this point in time, all that you're doing is identifying a direction for the project, but there are budget checkpoints through the design process. So we are consistently looking for efficiencies, best ways to do things, most cost-effective ways to do things.
So in all of those projects that you showed us, what was your, did you go over, what was your overage on each of those projects?
The projects I identified, I don't know specifically for each one, but I can tell you projects that Boyle Construction is involved with, our percentage of change orders, and I know that's a bad word, but our percentage of change orders is 0.9%. So less than 1% of the project budget.
And our firm strives to be under 1% as well on average.
Yeah.
And that's, again, managing, there's a lot of strategies with bidding, managing contingency with the bidding documents, but that's about 8 to 9 months from now, but yes.
And managing expectations.
And inside this budget, are there choices that could be made based on, the quality?
Yes,
Types of
absolutely.
floor, are we only budgeted for top of the line,
That's why the budget is one leg of the table, and part of the design process, you've got quantity, quality, and cost. And we need to manage and keep that in balance. And so as we are allotted a budget for a project, we need to the budget comes to every design meeting, just like the design drawings. And the budget becomes more detailed as we go through the process. So yes, as you get into finishes, we could invest X dollars more into finishes. It might cost a little bit less to maintain during the life of that finish, but the first cost might be a little bit less. There are all kinds of conversations that need to happen from all the building components. So all those decisions have yet to be made. We're just looking at an order of magnitude budget right now for a scope, just to make sure that there isn't a major variance between.
And then I do want to say, options 1 and 2 may limit some of those decisions. because we're not going into the entire building and addressing everything at one time.
I guess, it's a sticker shock to say, okay, the major warm and safe stuff is $10 million, and then to paint, do floors, and knock down the walls, it doubles, You run, and that's just
Well,
hard to.
the first budget's addressed, you're only repairing or addressing a finish where it's been disrupted by the installation of the system. So you don't have the budget to go in and just wholesale paint the entire building or wholesale address finishes throughout the whole building. Because that's just not a part of that renovation scope. That renovation project is only focused on fixing the things and replacing the systems that are beyond their useful life. So that's the difference, is that that's purely a maintenance project. That is, the users of the building will experience the better condition in the building in terms of the humidity and so forth, but they're not going to experience an enhancement from a use standpoint. So if you think about the life of this building for the next 20 years, that's kind of the decision point.
What would a building like this cost to build? I don't mean like square footage, 2-floor.
What's the square footage of this building?
35 times 500.
Yeah, right now, a square foot cost estimate, without getting into the details, you're probably looking at about $500 a square foot or something like this. Yeah, you want to talk about sticker shock? But yeah,
70 million?
to build new. To renovate it, well, we have the renovation number. That's
500 times, what's the square footage here? Do you know?
37.
What did you
Is
say?
it 35,000 square feet?
That
I believe
includes,
so, yeah.
Yeah, I think
includes a basement?
35,000, yeah. So it's,
That's the same.
And that's square foot is for your building. Then there's site costs associated with that as well. And if you, I'm not recommending this, and it's for the recording, I'm not saying you should do it, but if you were to knock this down and build a new building here, we'd have a lot other things that we'd have to deal with as far as stormwater management and things like that, where if you're just renovating the building, those are items that don't have to be dealt with, because you're not doing a site improvement. All your work, or most of your work is going to be interior, not all of it, most of it. Again, I'm not recommending that.
Just trying to, balance things in my head.
is there another question? Yes.
Thank you. Could you go into more detail about option 3? Because I understand what you say, it's going to make it more efficient and there are going to be upgrades, but it's going to look pretty much the same, right? We're not going to walk into a new luxurious, like super modern building where that looks very different from what it is now. I mean, you have to, I know it's in a small print, but maybe you can go over like some things like, like you're going to paint it, you're going to do the floors, you're going to move walls. What are you going to do exactly?
So if I could start, and then
Yeah.
you jump in and correct me.
Okay.
So the exterior of the building, we want to maintain the historical nature of the building. I know the building is in a historic area of the municipality. It's not on the historic registry, but we want to treat it as if it is. And we want to maintain, it's a beautiful building. And we want it to be a beautiful building at the end of whichever option you choose. Certain interior spaces, like the 2 classrooms you have here. These are amazing. You bring a kindergarten kid in here now, he's going to look at the walls and say, why are the whiteboards black? They don't know what chalk is. So maintaining the history as much as we can in spaces like this, absolutely. Is it going to have a new shine on the floor? The floor is going to be refinished, some new paint, some new light fixtures? Yeah, but this room, yeah, you're going to walk in and it's going to look like this room has been refreshed. It's not going to be changed. For like the boardroom, maybe that's something that gets more of an upgrade to be more of a modern feature. Maintaining the windows and the feel of it, but just more updated features. Now I'll let Christopher tell me where I was wrong.
No, that's right. I was going to say, yeah, the exterior, we're going to change And like the Marcus Hook example, we actually refinished the wood floors in certain areas to maintain that. But then you're gonna see a little bit more, to your point, in the occupied areas where there's cubicles and offices, new flooring, painting, ceiling. That's where we're gonna look at the utilization, and does it make sense to move some walls, take some down, put some up, redo the doors, hardware, that sort of thing. So that's where you're gonna see a little bit more of the changes in those spaces. And in this option, in the medium renovation, there's that $100 a square foot for general construction and $150 for MEP. So as we went through the design process, what changes are we recommending to do that fit into that $100 per square foot for general construction? So general construction, like finishes and wall movement, casework, storage, that sort of thing, which always comes up as being critically important and being short in buildings. So yeah, that's where you're gonna see it. Not super modern, just upgraded to be more usable and efficient.
And I think you will see changes if you go that direction on the ground floor. Because you have to spend going on $1.7 million to address the waterproofing and the moisture issues with the perimeter of this building. And that's such a significant investment. And if that's executed where those walls are pulled back a little bit and we're not just putting soil against the building, but we're creating the opportunity to get daylight down to the ground floor, then that space is going to feel very different. It's not going to feel like a basement. So at that point in time, you've got really good real estate on the perimeter of your building that is good office space that you can then reconfigure walls and make work efficiently. So that would be a space in the building that would feel different and would become better optimized than it is now. So that is an opportunity, even though that's, it's not great to have to put roughly $2 million into a moisture issue, but if it's executed to enhance the architecture, that could become a positive outcome for the ground floor.
So,
But if you just pull that away and you don't invest in the downstairs, then you're not necessarily getting light into the building. You're not benefiting that from that floor from an occupancy standpoint. That's a missed opportunity.
and so if we don't do it now in the basement, we will do it in the future, is it going to be needed soon, you think? Because if we just fix the water issue and don't do anything else, I mean.
Well, that'll be as things change with staffing and other things down the road. What in this type of building, in a administrative building, we try to build in flexibility so that you're not back here figuring, so you would be looking at a ratio of offices and conference spaces and workspaces that reflect the ratios so that the district has flexibility looking to the future. So, that would be the approach.
Okay, I mean, I appreciate increasing the efficiency and not spending the money in the future, but saving by probably doing the investment now, right?
Correct, yeah, it's the more cost-effective approach to do it at one time than to take the building apart twice.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Rosa.
Thank you. Your beginning projects, what was the oldest one? Was it the barn?
No, I think the oldest one was the Bethlehem Steel Plant. I think that was 1860s.
Okay. And in our base, this part of the building that we're sitting in is different where it was built later than the original part.
Correct.
What is the difference between the foundation and the basement walls, construction-wise?
I don't know if there's a lot of difference. What we could see and what we think it is this area over here is a stone foundation very similar to what was done with the first two pieces. What we would anticipate is that there's probably little to no water or damp proofing on the exterior of that, stopping the water from coming in. So if I had to guess, which is what it is right now because I haven't torn anything apart, it's probably a very similar foundation, but it's not being addressed. And this side of the building is what the downhill hits first. When we looked at the water infiltration, we don't want to just figure out what the issue, we want to figure out where the water is coming from. And once we do that, where do we send the water to? There's a creek down here that runs parallel to Main Street. And when I look at the images on Bing Map, Google Earth, the state maps for all that, it looks like there's a little leg of that creek that turns up this way and then stops. That to me tells me that that's where it daylights, and from that point up this way, there's something underneath ground, like an underground stream or something coming up this way. Does it come up to the building? Does it shoot off to the right or something? I don't know. But it's part of the puzzle. And it looks like most of your water infiltration issues are coming this way. It's around these sides here. At the main entrance as you walk in, it's that wall to the right. Again, it's the downhill side. And then I don't think it's a groundwater issue, but there's water infiltration at the entrance on this side of the building as well. So we think most of the water issue is because it's coming downhill. Don't know if it's an underground stream, don't know if it's a water table, don't know if it's the downspouts being clogged, but something is coming this way.
Or combination.
So what sort of experience do you have in some of these other historical buildings, especially one as old as this, that deals with underground moisture and water infiltration?
The Marcus Hook School, that basement regularly flooded. We worked with the geotech, just like we started a conversation with the geotech here. We looked at a dewatering system below that slab and also perimeter waterproofing, and that space has been dry. Go ahead.
That building had a concrete foundation.
No, that was stone. That's stone. That was a very old original building.
Good.
Valentine Hall's from the 1800s. We had water issues there as well on the Seminary Ridge, the high side where the ridge is, that we again pulled the soils back from the outside. So, those walls, the older those walls are, the other buildings that we worked on at the seminary were, from 1830s, from before the war. They were pre-Civil War buildings, and there isn't a lot of mortar. More mortar was utilized and so forth as the years go past. But the main issue is getting the water, stopping the water from hitting that. Right. So that's our goal, is to get either daylight against that in Parchett, which we're doing on a project currently down in Upper Darby, the old Prendy building. We're actually pulling the foundation back on that building, exposing it, and having outdoor more daylight, which would have been a similar concept to down here. So it's getting the moisture away from it so it can't wick through. So.
Right. So what is your proposed system for this building to do precisely that?
Well, the initial ideas are, the two approaches are, you're going to reinstall the wells. We have to replace the wells. So you can either build larger wells around the building and control the water on the outside of that structure, and then have more daylight coming to the basement, which we think is an intriguing opportunity with that problem, because it also can enhance occupancy, the quality of the occupancy of the ground floor. Or the other is we pull the soil away, we put a waterproofing system and a drainage system there, and make sure that that's waterproof like we would do, any construction, and make sure that the water can't hit the building. It's diverted away from those original stone walls.
And that's without doing any geotechnical
Testing. There's a lot of
testing of the
things to happen.
soils, and then really digging into it. Again, that's just looking at it from a bird's eye view of what the issues are and what we think could be solutions.
And that needs to be done if we just sort of make a mass out of this and think about it more as a rectangle instead of all the alcoves and such. It's effectively 3 sides of this.
You could, that's the one concept that we showed as an initial idea, is maybe we do that, which will actually, make that ground floor feel more like a ground floor than a basement.
Right. Didn't this district locate a building for $5 million that we could purchase that had a larger parking lot and more square footage on the ground floor? We talked about it, I think, several months ago.
We looked at several buildings. I don't know whether that building is for sale or not at this point.
And
for sale anymore or for rent. But that $5 million would be the purchase price, but I don't know what the cost would be to to make that ready for administration.
And wasn't one of the problems identified that this parking lot here around Chancellor was inadequate for the functions often associated with this building? Especially, for example, when we're handing out scholarships or we've got a band night or something like that, where we have lots of students and families rightfully in this space.
I mean, I know that we end up with parking on the street. There is lots of parking, street parking, which is legal. So, but, you know, for the everyday use of this building, there's enough parking for those events. We end up with, and there's plenty of parking around the building. You know, there are days when I come in and sometimes I have to park on the street and you know, many of us that work in the building park on the street, not just me.
Wasn't it also a desire to conduct training for many of the educators in this building and have larger space for training and such things?
I don't know where that,
We do professional development in this building, but we also, depending on the day where it is on the calendar, we'll do that in another location. For example, the middle school is in a larger environment, an auditorium. So, you know, our secondary schools certainly have more parking space and more room. But if it's just like we just had election day, we had groups here, we had groups across the district spread out.
So I'm surprised also that the contingencies didn't address the foundation. I mean, we're talking about basically 125, 150-year-old blocks and mortar that have been underground for nearly that entire time, exposed to water. I'm surprised that there wasn't a contingency cost for that, especially when we look at some of these images.
There is monies in the upper portion of that. I believe it was 1.2 million to address stormwater issues.
Which seems consistent on all three options.
And then 600,000 to address interior and outdoor concrete issues,
Okay.
which are the walls. So
So that's
between
what
those two
That's-
things,
yeah.
that addresses the light wells and the,
Is, when we talk about, I'm also happy that you talked about maintaining fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers. And it seems that in option 3, the most expensive one, that's the only one when that is blue. And that's the most expensive one. Fiscal responsibility to taxpayers is often keeping that load on the taxpayer smaller. So.
and well, the thought there was by choosing option 3, you eliminate the need of having to come back to this building 5 years, 8, 10 years down the road and have to move everyone or a portion of the building out again to do work that wasn't picked up in this project.
Completely agree. But some of the stuff like changing doors, changing doorknobs, stuff like that can easily be accommodated in our summer work and would not require people to vacate their offices.
That's true, yeah, there could be a smaller summer project that would address that.
Right. So I think, you know, we've got site lighting upgrades that could be done without people leaving, parking lot maintenance and restriping allowance, fencing upgrades, replace knob-style door hardware in corridors, replace carpet tiles in boardroom and kitchenette. This one probably not, refinish wood floors in these 2 classrooms, hallway and boardroom. That one you probably need to do, I get that. But some of these others.
The thought process there is as well, it's not just doing the physical work. There's efficiencies with putting it all together in one package.
Absolutely.
So you have one mobilization cost for the contractor. You have one profit where there's efficiencies in the contractor's soft costs outside of actually doing the work.
But you wouldn't bring in the floor refinisher at the same time that you're doing foundation work.
No, it would be scheduled appropriately. We want to make sure the water infiltration issue is addressed before we start doing stuff inside the building.
Right. So we're not going to have the refinisher in here at the same time that you're doing the foundation stuff.
No, but if you do that as a separate bid, there's cost associated with
There are definitely efficiencies.
And whether you do it through state contract or a competitive bid or anything like that, there's costs associated with it outside of the work itself that is accounted for if you put it all together in one package.
As far as being a good neighbor to the community, what does that mean? Does that mean minimizing noise? Does that mean minimize disruption? Does that-
Noise, disruption, and again, option 3, we're here once and done.
Right.
Where options 1 or 2, we're gonna come in, do some work, we're gonna leave, a couple of years from now, you might come back in again and do some more work.
That's weird. Why would you do that when a lot of the same things?
I'm saying with option 1 and 2.
I get that. Options 1 and 2, we all have the same 14 construction items, because some of them are not included and some of them are. So why would you be coming and going more often in ones where you've got less, and you'd be here throughout the whole thing for option?
No, not the contractors with this project. I'm saying any work that's not associated with this project
Right.
that are on that list but not included in option 1 or 2. Maybe 5 years down the road, you're coming back in to do it again, and you're disrupting the neighborhood again with noise, traffic, things like that. Where if you do it one time, again, it's temporary inconvenience for long-term improvements, and you can do that once, or you can do that several times. Difference between 1 and 2.
Right, but theoretically also, we don't have to pack it all into this one project under one contractor at one time. We could break it out to several different contractors, and I expect you will. Probably get a foundation person to come and do the foundations.
We're required to do a minimum of 4 times.
Right.
No, we take a look at it and do 5 or 6 times, 7 times, make more sense, but we're required by the Separations Act in Pennsylvania to do a minimum of 4 times. General, mechanical.
Right, and they'll have several subcontractors.
Yes.
Correct, right.
General will have more subcontractors than the other 3, but all have some.
You perhaps, with your experience in basement foundations, have a building section that details what you've done before for water mitigation and integration on old stone foundation walls.
We have a typical detail that we would normally use for waterproofing with the drainage panel, with the foundation perforated drain at the bottom and the stone, and then wherever that's getting tied into, or, yeah, typical detail that we'd use based on manufacturer's recommendations, like a mirror drain system, one of the.
And we would want to dig some test pits to see what kind of prep work we would need to do to the existing foundation. So that detail would need to be developed on a building like this, to make sure that it's addressing. But when you have a building of this, you would want to dig a couple test pits, take a look at what the exact conditions are so that you can put together a detail that's going to address, make sure it addresses it. You want to do that prior to bid so that we're 100% sure we don't run into changes once we get under construction.
Thank you for those additional details.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple questions, comments. Thank you for the presentation. It's very rare, and I wasn't expecting for you to say, what historical buildings have you done? And you put up a building that we've probably all been in the Crayola factory, so that's awesome. And from what I remember, it was awesome, and I hope that, somehow you can incorporate a giant climbing structure in the middle, because that would be terrific.
Make it look like a crayon.
Please. Another comment before I move on, regarding the stream and the potential underground stream, I don't know that answer, but if anybody does, they're sitting in the perimeter of this room, so you might be able to get an answer there tonight. Okay, I have several questions, but I guess I'll go kind of in order. One question I had as we talk about this, and you say that the water's coming from Chancellor Street, running down the hill, hitting the building. The parking lot here is a little oddly shaped, right? Like it's like an H kind of, Is there any discussion to redoing the front grassway to kind of channel water that's coming in from Chancellor Street out away from the building? I'm picturing kind of like a V, And I'm also wondering how that relates maybe to Mr. Roosevelt's question about parking, or anything
So
else.
surface-wise, it's a little, the water issue is a little perplexing, because the surface of the site doesn't show any issues with water runoff. You have the rolled curves that come around the building, everything slopes down and pretty much away from the building, all except for right next to the main entrance that slopes into the building there. So surface runoff, it looks like the rainwater that is hitting Chancellor Street and the parking lots is going where it's supposed to and away from the building. We think the issues with the foundation are either or a combination of rainwater leaders, the stream, or the water table rising and lowering. Now, once we get into it and have the geotech engineers and the civil engineers come out and really dig into this, it may be a surface issue, but at first glance, it doesn't look like the surface is the issue.
Okay, all right, that's helpful. And then when you look at this $8.8 million that we're talking about for option 3 versus option 2, I'm curious how that would break down. Is it mostly in the basement? Is it half in the basement and 40% on the second floor with the offices and 10% here with the boardroom? Like, how does that break?
That requires a design process.
Uh-huh.
So that's the budget that we have for the building, and that's what the options are that need to be discussed. We need to have input meetings with the administration and key stakeholders here to learn about how to deploy that. So I think, building off of what was said, we're not going to reconfigure this space, right? But the basement would have a higher percentage, obviously, than a space like this. But that budget needs to be, taken through schematic design so that we can specifically answer that question.
There's a lot of space in the basement that's very nice as it is. So when you're talking about even making it brighter and expanding those windows, you're talking about expanding the window wells out toward the parking lot?
They can't go a lot because you can't impede especially on this side, the access drive or loose parking spaces. But if you think about a sun angle study, every foot gives you more light further into the floor plate. So it's looking at that.
Would they go the other way too? No,
Yes, yeah, if
it
you go
would.
to that plan, they can go, the zone's all the way around.
Towards back the other way.
Not this one?
Oh, I was
Looking at the
one that had
basement plan that had
the dash lines going.
dash
Oh.
Mechanical area in the
Sorry.
back.
Sorry.
Like 16.
Got it, yep.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's really, thinking about that whole perimeter where the green line is, that needs to be designed, but that's the opportunity there.
Would we potentially be adding windows
You could add windows to that, yes.
Possibly, yeah.
and therefore make spaces that didn't have windows before and couldn't?
Correct, especially on these walls out front.
Right.
Yes.
Get enough daylight in there and make it comfortable.
we have to- we've
People
gotta-
will, it's like people will call it ground floor instead of basement.
Right, that would be nice.
We've got to dig down anyway. You're going to have this, when this project, to do the waterproofing, when that's happening, you're going to walk up to this building and you're going to see the walls all the way down. So they're going to scoop this whole place out. There's going to be, so if you're scooping that all out, why not consider, rather than just pushing the dirt back against it, why not consider, getting more daylight into that level of building?
Can you speak a little bit to your experience with other buildings asking that kind of interview process, the people who are working in the building, finding out how maybe to reconfigure offices or get people closer together? Can you speak a little bit to how that process works and how you think it might work here?
We normally come in for a day and we park in a space like this. And however the district decides to organize the stakeholders, then they come through and we talk about their specific needs. We asked for that to happen at the beginning of the process so that, it's sort of like you're thinking big picture, but you also need to be down in the weeds so that you can really test the space needs for each, because you need to know about specific storage requirements, specific meeting requirements, adjacencies, all those kinds of things. So you have to have a very detailed conversation at the beginning of the process so that you can create, we call them ed specifications or program drawings. They're developed, and then we use those then to look at the overall space planning in the building.
I like to start those meetings, basically end user meetings. We talk to the people that work in here day in and day out. And it's their opportunity, and I say there are needs and there are wants. I'm not promising either of them, but this is your opportunity to tell us what they are, so that we can take that information and put it together in a fashion that best suits everyone that works in this building. So that, again, student first, so they can better serve the student population of the school.
What, if anything, and maybe the answer is nothing, but when we look at this list, is there anything that jumps out at you that we could put off for a summer project? I'm looking specifically at the most expensive option.
I think we need to get into it and start doing the schematic design and see what could be pulled out as a separate summer project. I don't recommend doing a summer project while this project is going on. If it's going to be done during this project, just make it part of this project.
Right, no, I
If you want to
understand.
pull something out and do it later, there's certainly things.
Okay. All right, that's it.
Mr. Dago.
Hi, thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate all the work you've been putting into it. So quickly, when you were given the RFP, I guess all the options in the RFP were that the administration would stay in this building. There was no option where you guys compared fixing the foundation, keeping it dry, and then looking at what other options, whether it be the Richborough Middle School or
Correct, it was just these three options,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's important, because we did first start this by looking at a comprehensive plan, and we quickly narrowed it down to, we're gonna do Chancellor Center is on the projects along with 2 schools, and we'll repeat it, and it just became assumed that we're just gonna continue to have, it's not the only option to keep the administration here. It is the option to fix this building. And the thing that was number 1, that's always been a summer project, is to dig up the perimeter and get that foundation drainage in there. And I'm actually surprised to see only 1.2 million. I think that's actually rather reasonable amount for the main reason why we're doing this is to dry it out. And then of course when we go to the 2.5 million, they said, well, if we're gonna dig around, you might as well replace the HVAC and all those systems for another 2.5 million. Still good. We're kind of in the range of maintaining the building. And then it just continues that. One of the things that I was looking at when I look at the basement, if you look at the walls, you have some of the pictures of the walls. Is that addressed that's not addressed in, let's say, the lowest project of $6 million? I mean, there's an allowance of 600,000, maybe that's on all of them. But would that be enough to do the interior walls? Because of course, I don't want to see any wall looking like I don't want dust coming off the walls or disintegrating onto the floors, and then the floors painted, whatever. And it can't just be paint. So I'm wondering, how do you address these types of, do you screen it? What do you do?
That's part of the water infiltration and some of the concrete issues.
Sure.
So that's 1.8, or 1.2 and 6, so 1.8 million altogether. So that's part of the concrete that would be addressed.
You will, inside and out, so you'll do the drainage.
Largely inside.
Right, and you saw the one column that's kind of buckling in the corner in the basement, that's gonna have to be fixed. I know you said it's structurally, I'm happy you to say that the building's very strong, and that we're in good shape and the building will be here for many years. So the other question that I look at is, so we could make building warm, safe, and dry, just doing the perimeters and all that thing. Sorry, the basement, digging it out.
Option one.
Option one. And then, and that will take care of the walls, what I'm looking at, what I'm concerned about. Then there's also, if we're gonna spend the money, go to option 3. I'd like to make sure that the pointing looks consistent across the whole thing, even if you paint the point. Just make sure this will look great. The other thing on the outside, it says that there's an allowance for the wood trim, painting it. But I know a lot of the times this paint, it's gonna last 5-6 years. And if it's rotted, I know you have a $40,000 allowance to replace the wood trim. But I think we're gonna hit that. And then the other thing that I'm concerned about old buildings, I had a 100-year-old house, my first house was very old, is the roof. We have 4 different types of roofs there. And I just don't wanna spend $18 million and have to look at this or touch this building for as you said, 10 years, at least on the exterior, 20 years. But again, the thing that I was asked at the last meeting was if we just did the warm, safe, and dry, fix this building, we're pigeon-tailing or tying the administration to this building for the next 20 years, right? If we go with option 3. Of the 3 options, you're right, cost-effective. If you're gonna keep the administration in this building, then that's the most cost-effective because you're not coming back. But what you're not showing me, which wasn't asked of you, is what if we fix the building, make it look good, but put the administration in another building, or let's say Richboro Middle School. It's probably gonna be a little bit more expensive, probably, but what does that layout look like? What are the options we have? But that's beyond what you're.
Yes, we
Would
were
you
not.
be
Beyond
able
those
to use space in the school, or would you have to add on to that school to do?
Well, it's a nice thing that the building, we would knock off the back, we already know we're gonna knock the Richboro Middle School gymnasium portion off. And one of the options we've been talking about for years is utilizing the front part. And doing what we do with all the other schools, we basically took Rolling Hills and just gutted it down to the concrete roof and built a new building.
The reason I ask that is, PD is not very friendly to school districts when you need new administration space.
Sure, we're not gonna knock, I knew that, and of course, that's where you could get away with it by keeping the
I
walls.
mean, it's silly, you can't build a 20,000 square foot admin building, but you can go renovate a 1 million square foot building into admin and they say nothing.
You could purchase a building, right? They still let you do that. So yeah, we were very aware of that. So all I'm saying is it's pretty exciting. If we spent the $18 million, I would just want to make sure that this building it's going to look very, as you said, it's very similar to what it looks like now. We didn't talk about the steps, but apparently the steps are going to be ripped out and redone. But again, I'm concerned with the basement. I like the idea of more light. But we've already made the decision to keep the administration here with all the other buildings and properties that we have.
That was what we're looking at. So,
Yeah, thank you. I think, let me just make sure before I have one more thing. No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting and being here and answering all of our questions. We've been at this for a year and a half now, so. My first clarification, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, and I want to clarify because I don't want anyone listening at home thinking this was going to be done regardless. The item number 4, the allowance to install the foundation drainage system and tie into the stormwater sewer, talking about some of the water, that has never been a summer project. And okay, because I believe it was alluded that it was a summer project. It had that $1.2 million has never been. So no matter if we don't choose 1, 2, or 3, it was never a summer project. Am I clear with that, Jess?
As far as I know, it was never a summer project.
Okay, thank you for
We
that.
don't have enough time in the summertime to move everybody out,
Yes.
do that work, and then move everybody back in.
Right. I understand that. I just wanted that to be clear if we don't, what in our decision-making process. I love the use of, window space and getting efficient and possibly expanding our use of the basement. There was a couple of the board members that came and toured the building, including a lot of time spent in the basement. I guess one of the questions I would have is, do we need to expand the use of the basement? How much so that we need to provide all this daylight? And I'm wondering with this daylight, is that, you mentioned that it was part of the
100,000?
yeah, 600 to part of that 1.2 million, that 1.8 million, exactly, that was included in expanding that, the light wells. If you didn't do that, is there a significant difference in cost of that?
We talked about that, so to fix the issue and put it back exactly the way it is slightly less work than to expose everything, put a wall around it, and just backfill against that new wall.
Okay.
It's a little bit more work. Do we think it's within that 1.8 million? And do we think the design contingency may need to be used for that? We'll have to look at that, but we certainly think that option is viable enough where it should be considered.
So not a significant
No.
cost, okay. And I guess in terms of having additional windows, I guess just personally, we like more windows, but I think of windows when I looked at having a window in my basement, and the cost of adding a window and stucco was astronomical in my house, so I'm a little cautious to saying, hey, let's put windows everywhere, even though we like daylight. And just like anything, when something's a solid piece of stone that we're gonna seal, then to cut it open, that's, 150-year-old building, to then stick in a glass window, I have a little bit of concern, but I guess that would be
And
something
again, maybe
later on.
do new window punch openings, but creating that larger well does offer the opportunity to get more daylight to the windows that are down there, as opposed to just building it out like you have now.
Right. And I guess, of course, that makes sense, and for me, at $18 million, I want to be as efficient as possible, not only in our taxpayer dollars, but also the use. So how much are we actually going to use the basement? Are we going to use that space and utilize it? I would surely hope so as a board member, that if we're going to add these lovely windows and provide all this daylight, that we make full use of that basement. So I guess I would go back to the administration in that decision-making. In terms of the timeline, where does the geotech and civil engineers come into play? Because, the board members have sat around here for the last several months talking about it. We're all kind of holding our breath. What happens when you dig into the ground? And that's where we're thinking, there might have to be a pause and, reconvene and think about what the next direction could be. So at what phase would that civil engineers and geotech?
Right after the notice to proceed is given, we would start that geotechnical work and get the site civil engineer on board and get started with their schematics. So that's one of the first steps.
Okay. And then, sorry, my final question. And I think Ms. Oseki alluded to it a little bit, in terms of the medium renovations in option 3, there's an $8.8 million, and I know you discussed, Mr. Main, that kind of has to wait till the design phase. Is there ever a situation or scenario where we could spend less than $8.8 million in that
Absolutely.
renovation?
That would be the goal.
Okay.
This is not the.
Not like that's what we have and that's our budget and let's spend $8.8 million.
That's a not to exceed number. So absolutely, the goal would be to not spend that much and make sure that the district is getting the most bang for their buck.
All right, thank you.
I was going to ask the same question that Nikki did about the foundation wall, making that area usable space. Will we really need it? Not just from the cost of the outside, but then also interior, if we don't need that space now, because I'm assuming on the other 2 floors, we're going to be much better utilizing a lot of space that's up there, because there's a lot of square footage that's just hallway and open space.
Yes.
So we may not need that.
Correct, that's why we need to, we need to go through the
Even if you
design
leave the
process.
open well, not to put windows and not to worry about the interior space. until, such time that we may need.
Sure, and again, that would
Space.
come out of that design process.
Yeah.
Please, thank you. I appreciate the presentation, it's clear and helpful. I think your credentials are terrific. I had looked at the slides and thought, boy, it's neat, the breadth of experience, but to hear that a couple of you gentlemen are on historical preservation boards in your communities is pretty neat. It shows you, I think, that you really truly appreciate historical buildings. I like what I heard a lot. I want to point out that, this is really an independent evaluation of what we were considering doing by two experienced firms. And I think the fact that you've come to the conclusion that you have independently is very helpful to us, and I appreciate that. A lot of the points you made jumped out at me, and I will get to a question. The consideration of being a good neighbor and space utilization to improve efficiencies and collaboration. I mean, this building is being used in a way it wasn't designed. And I know the administration has reconfigured offices and space as best possible within, the constraints of not doing a renovation. But to be able to take a fresh look at the way we use the building. It's exciting to hear you talking about improving efficiencies and collaboration. I think that's really marvelous. And, we use the basement a lot now, and to add daylight and make it a more welcoming place is a neat option. What really jumped out at me was the comment that if we do option 3, then for the next 20 years, we don't have to worry about this building again. And certainly there would be, within those 20 years, some window frames that need painting and other things that need to be done. But in terms of substantial renovation work on this building, the idea that we're doing a 20-year project really puts it in perspective. The other thing I want to point out, and to put it into perspective, $18 million is a lot of money. There's no getting around it. It's not a small decision, which is why we as a board have been debating this for more than a year, debating all the options. Leasing, we explored that and discussed that. The Richboro Middle School property, I mean, that building is exhausted. That's talking about building new. I think we've fully explored all the options. And now we're looking at a recommendation of spending $18 million, and that really is a lot of money. I'll point out that we recently renovated Richboro Elementary School, which was a full renovation of a school. But that project was in excess of $36 million. So we're talking about twice the price tag. It's not an easy decision to spend that amount of money. However, that's what we have to do as a school board to give the facilities necessary for our educational programs and for the support programs that undergird those educational programs. I mean, what goes on here, that was another comment that I wrote down. What goes on here is important. The people that work here matter. They support what happens in our schools. Without what goes on in this building, our schools don't operate the same way. So I think, we've done a really good job of exploring all the options, discussing it and debating it, and I feel reassured that where we're headed, according to these two consulting firms, is the right direction. And, I fully support moving this forward to the next board business meeting and having a further public discussion and debate and eventually a vote as to whether or not option 3 is the one we go with. But that's the one I think makes the most sense, and that's what our independent consultants have recommended to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, did you have I think you said you had a question. I figured I'd let you finish.
Oh,
No. Just a couple, just as a clarification, I guess. The 600,000 miscellaneous interior and exterior, I was asking Ms. Oseki, but I'm just gonna ask once again, just to make sure for myself. That would include some of this daylight zone that you reference.
Correct.
So,
So between the 1.2 million for the water infiltration and the 600,000 for the concrete, those two items would address the infiltration, the light wells, and the concrete surface on the inside of the wall.
so in effect, it would make it available working space for the personnel here.
Well, that's addressing the outside walls, and then the $100 a square foot, that's a part of the renovation scope, that's the top line item on option 3, allows for you then to, address the interior finish reconfiguration, those types of things.
Right.
Yeah.
But that could also, as I forget which board member said, it could be addressed at another time.
Option 1 and 2, yeah, that would be addressed at another time.
And just my other question, I don't really know, any idea what the square footage per personnel, like average or good number would be for an educational administration building? For example, this building houses 75 people. So if it's 35,000 square feet, you can figure it out. I mean, is that a reasonable number? Is it not enough? How much more room would this daylight zone, because I'm assuming you don't use that space now, do you?
That's where my office is.
It would just make it better. So
And I had nothing to do with this. It's just, I'm encouraging this.
would any of this new daylight zone offer any more?
It would allow you to think about that space differently in that it would give you options for use. If it could be additional meeting space because it's conducive to that, or it can allow you to, think about it as a better utilized office space, so forth. The utilization factor with a building like this, the age of this building is a little different than most office buildings for two reasons. One, the age of the building, but the second is the fact that you've got these large meeting spaces. So as we get into the programming, we'll be looking at the office areas, the areas that are used specifically for office, the net areas, and looking at those utilization factors in the design. And then you also have spaces like this that can't really be factored into those equations because it's a different use. So we need to, really analyze the building with that lens.
And I guess finally, because this building was originally a school or a school building, not an administration building. I'm not aware of like some of the things you do, but do you have any other experience where you've taken a building that is designed for one use, in this case, a school, and renovated it to be something else, which is now an administration building?
The one I'll offer is kind of an anecdote. Christopher just finished a school project. The most interesting one we did was a missile command silo into an administrative building at the Chichester School District. So that was a Nike missile silo site. And so we took the command center for the Nike missile site and we turned that into their administrative building. So yes, we've done conversions before.
We've done the same.
Wait, isn't our Nike missile site, didn't that used to be the administration building on 24 Road?
And then you make the silo look like a grant.
Well, the school on top of the silo. Okay?
We did do a school project, actually it would be in reverse, where we built a new middle school, vacated the old middle school because it wasn't living up to the occupants that they had, and then we moved an elementary school into the old middle school, which left extra space, so they have their virtual academy, and then we moved the district office into that, so in part of the old middle school, and reconfigured the offices, put the offices around the perimeter, toilets and workspace in the middle, a lot like this actually in terms of concept. And yeah, that worked out well because we had that space to do that.
Thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate the presentation.
Okay, sorry, just one final clarification, and I think you already touched upon it, but You know, in the past, we talk about school renovations, and we've had other architectural firms and design firms, that when we have a full renovation, that every surface, we've heard, all of us, is touched in some way. So in this, at the Chancellor Center, the option 3 full renovations, could you also say the same? So, you know, you talked about, Mr. Main, that it would be a refresh, let's say, as an example in this classroom. I know Mr. Hidalgo brought up one of his big concerns is if we redo the full renovations and we get to the basement, am I gonna see this crumbling concrete or crumbling, you know, drywall or whatever it is? So in the full reno, is every surface refreshed
Yeah, that's
in some way?
That's why that budget number is applied to the entire square footage of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Hi, thank you, Seth. So other people, we've talked about this, again, we have been speaking about the drainage of this building since I've been on the board. It might not have been a summer project, but it was named probably a standalone that Doug Keller is since 2015 probably we've been talking about this. So we're at 18 million now. You start digging up the foundation, can you promise us it's not gonna go to 20, 25, 30?
I wish I could promise that. We do have design contingency built into that budget. And with our estimates, there's about $300,000 to $400,000 in that design contingency. We feel that with the numbers that were applied to those items, the $100 a square foot renovations architecturally, $150 for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and the design contingency, we certainly believe that the work can be addressed within the budget that was provided.
And we're also going to do testing at the beginning of the design process. We're going to seek to expose some foundation so we can see it. We're going to do drilling to see how the soil's modeled for water table, also to see what's happening if there's water moving through those soils. So there's a lot of testing that hasn't happened that needs to happen. That's the beginning of the design process that helps us address the best path forward.
Okay.
So one of the questions that was asked during our interview was, if you hit the lottery tomorrow, that's when it was $1 billion. If you hit the lottery tomorrow, what happens to our project? If I could predict your answer, I would have won that $1 billion lottery.
Okay, so, but you do have experience, so have you ever been in a situation like this where you've hit something and it has gone like,
Sideways.
yeah, like not into the room? Because some people believe it could go to $30 million if you start digging this building up.
But like Don was saying, you do all that investigation at the beginning, schematic design. If there's something discovered that's out of the realm, we need to come back here and have a discussion on what's out. This doesn't happen, this isn't discovered in construction when you're digging the soil for the first time. So we're all of a sudden discovering a $2 million problem. So it would be something that we would investigate ahead of time, so we would know. But yeah, we can troubleshoot it early during the design.
So
But again, the numbers that were applied in the estimates that were given to us, we feel they're appropriate for what we think the issues are. Now, once we get in and start doing that testing, we'll either confirm that or go, oh, wow.
So this, you know, that pathway where the buckling wall is that included in you can fix that? Or is that an indication that there's a structural issue if it's buckling?
I don't know if that's the column buckling or the wrap around the column that has water issues and is failing.
Well, yeah, it's in the corner, right? Coming in. So all right, so you're going to do some testing and
Yeah,
so but
inside-
we don't get
inside
down
of
to this and all of a sudden it's $25 million.
Right.
I wouldn't anticipate
Okay.
I think
another
it's,
$7 million in issues.
I think it's important to note that the board is not being asked to approve $18 million at this point. You're being asked to approve a contract with these two companies where they're going to move forward with planning a building that is with a budget of building renovation with a budget of $18 million. We're not looking at planning. We're not looking at saying right now you've approved $18 million. You're looking at saying we're authorizing Murata, Maine and Boyle to plan and put together a building that renovation that's on the $18 million option.
All right, and just, that number is about $1 million between the two? Or is that the general contractor, we're approving a general contract?
No.
So it's just the architectural, which we use about $400,000 on the larger project on the 18 million?
No, so
What's the dollar amount
We're approving the architect and the construction manager,
Right.
not the general contractor.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant, the manager was the
I believe
It's not there.
yeah, it's like 800,000 for the architect and 400,000 for the.
and for architect, that's architect, mechanical, electrical,
Yes.
plumbing,
All the
civil,
here's the
geotechnical,
exact
that's the
numbers.
entire design.
Yeah, if you bring it back up. For the full renovation, the cost for Murata, Maine architect, which includes engineering costs, all that other work that needs to be done, is $804,650. And for the same option for the work of Boyle is option 3, $424,500.
So that's like 1.2 million,
Yes.
just for the design and then project management. And what's the value of the building?
Negative.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer, thank you. I like that, yeah.
Can I make a comment now?
Are you done?
Yes, thank you.
So we have been talking about this for many months, probably like over a year. And my understanding is that we have a responsibility to this building. We cannot just let it go. Even if we wanted to move out to another place, we cannot just let this go. Which means that options 1 or 2 are absolutely necessary. And then, once you start digging, maybe you will see what it is most beneficial to do. I mean, it sounds like if we decide to stay here, option 3 makes sense since it's the most efficient for everybody. But it's not that we can avoid options 1 or 2. We have to do it. It's true that the value of this building right now is negative. We cannot sell it. We cannot abandon it. We have to take care of it. So it makes sense to vote on this next week and start looking into all the different things that we can find, and then we can decide whether we're going to do 3 or not. But we cannot just let go. I mean, we are responsible owners and neighbors, and we have to take care of this building. And actually, I think we're probably obligated to do it anyway. And it will be interesting to hear the public comment on this, because some people here have more experience than what we have about the history of the building and what has happened in the past. But to me, 1 or 2 is absolutely necessary. So, thank you.
Okay, I have some kind of. So, we know all about the Taj Mahal Act, right? The Taj Mahal Act says that you can't build a new building, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, like a school district can't build a fancy new building for their administration. You can attach one to a current school or something, but they don't want people building a fancy new building for their administration. Totally makes sense, 100% support it. And yet, this building is gorgeous, and I would say that it's probably the closest school district administration building to the Taj Mahal that we have in Bucks County. It's an unbelievable building, and we are really lucky to have it. I think other districts would love to have it. And it's worth investing in. I think it's worth investing in. I appreciate the comment about being a good neighbor. I think that here in the borough, we take that very seriously. You should see Halloween in the borough. I mean, we're really into neighborhood and community here. It's important to me as a member of this community that we're not having this conversation again in 10 years to say, okay, now let's revisit the interior work and let's fight about how much that's going to cost, which is going to be more than if we did it now. So, it is a big number. I think, as Ms. Polly said, it's not as big as if we did option one here and then built in, or bought another building and then renovated that. It's less than that. It's less than the renovation for Richboro Middle, to renovate that as a administration building. So I think it makes sense. Let's do the bigger project. Let's do it once. Let's do it right. And let's put it behind us and not, be worrying about it again in any of our tenures on the board.
One more little comment. I agree with Mr. Hidalgo on the point that it's scary to think about what we might find once we start digging around and looking at what the foundation looks like and so forth. However, that's not just true. Please correct me, this is where I'm going to ask a question. Is it not the case that the same uncertainty exists for options 1, 2, and 3? It's not just option 3.
Correct.
Yeah, there's less uncertainty with the programmatic enhancement scope than there is with the foundation scope. So if you're just repairing the foundation, that, we need to, that's, you always talk about, I'm up out of the ground with my building project. I'm out of that phase, things are going well. That's the, when we dig, what are we gonna hit? So that's really the most unknown portion of a project.
Thank you. So that concern exists with options 1, 2, and 3.
Correct.
The only way to eliminate it would be for us to leave this building, but as Ms. Polly has pointed out, this building has a negative value. I hesitate to say this, but I was the person who pushed for the initial property appraisal about 8 years ago, shortly after I joined the board, because I thought, well, before we renovate Chancellor, we ought to see if we can't sell it. Wouldn't it be neat to see somebody turn it into condos, I wondered. And that initial appraisal was no different really than the one we got a little over a year ago. That essentially, as Ms. Pally put it, we have a negative value building. So we have to figure out what to do with this building, and the same worrisome uncertainty exists about the foundation, whether it's option 1, 2, or 3. That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment? You want to?
We can do that.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with that?
Let's
Is everybody
start.
okay if we do that? We can do our public comment for our people that are here. Everybody's okay?
Roll call.
Yes.
Can I just, so one of the things that we need to do with this is, we need to draw up a contract for both of these groups for your approval at next week's board meeting. And it has to be based on one of the options. Is there,
I think,
obviously I'm not looking for a vote, but is there an indication as to what option you should use?
Option 3.
But that doesn't make it, it doesn't commit.
It doesn't commit us.
It doesn't commit you to a vote, but that's what the
Doesn't
contract
commit us
says. It doesn't commit you to,
18 million.
No.
This is only for them to start.
yes, and it doesn't commit you to approving that contract, either the contracts either, but we need to prepare. There has to be a document for you to vote on, and if we don't have a document, then, if we don't know which option we should prepare with the contract. So I'm just asking what option should we prepare with those two contracts?
And with that contract, that's the charging of the $804,000 and the $424,000.
Yes.
So that would be about $1.2 million off of the $18 million project
Yes.
for them to do the scope. But we're not voting on the $18 million.
No.
This is only just so they can give us preliminary, and then we can go and look at what they come back to give us. I just want to understand this so that
Yes.
we're very clear and the expectation is very clear.
So after, assuming you approve a contract next Thursday.
Yep.
That says, Jess and team, go. The next time that we'll go through schematic design, which is approximately 3 months. So we'll be able to do our investigations, and there's a lot more investigations that we even talked about today. And then we'll be able to come back to you and say, in approximately 3 months, all right, we did our investigations, we'll work with Boyle to do a cost estimate. This is where we think the cost estimate's at. You know, if you guys authorize us to move forward with option 3, we'll come back and say, all right, we discovered X, Y, and Z during our investigations. Our cost estimate comes in at $18 million. We're within this project range. Or we come back and say that, okay, we did all of our investigations. We found X, Y, and Z on top of all of this. Do we still want to move forward with the project? Does that make sense?
It doesn't. So if we authorize this contract and then 3 months from now say, wait, I want to do warm safe, regardless of what we find or don't find, we want to do warm, safe, and dry. Like, I don't want to commit to an $18 million project and then find out that we're committed to an $18 project and we can't fall back to the $8 million project.
Once we start design, I need a direction on what design we're gonna do. I can't design all 3. I need to pick one direction to start designing.
So we do have to pick the option then tonight. If we go with option, because I got the impression right now, if I just say, okay, yeah, I'm good with this, because I am good with this. I believe in repairing this building, even in spite of what I've been saying over the last 6 months. I have been convinced of the value of doing it. So I say yes, but I'm not committed to a $20 million. I don't want to commit to a $20 million option, or maybe other board members don't want to commit to a $20 million option, when really we could do the warm, safe, and dry with the renovations to have the more daylight and do all the things we do. Like, it's one thing to spend $8 million, it's another thing to spend $20 million for the same thing, and I can't vote yes if it means I'm committing to a $20 million project. I would rather commit to an $8 million project and go from there.
I think so if you're committing to designing an $18 million project, okay? If 6 months from now, they're in the middle of and please correct me if I'm wrong, and they're in the middle of this $18 million project, and the board changes, it says, no, we want the $10 million project. At that point, we would have to change the contract to the $10 million project, pay them appropriately for all the work that they've put in so far. So it would increase the cost on that $1.2 million overall, but over comparing the different levels of projects. So we would still have to pay for all the work that they did on that part of the project. And then
If I could interject too, if the board gives the direction to go with a full renovation, and it's 18 million all in, that's not 18 million construction costs, that includes the soft costs and everything. And that's the direction of the board, that's the direction your design team takes. And if we start designing this and we say, oh, we're at 19 million, the design changes to get back to that $18 million number. We don't come to the board and say, oh, it's gonna cost you another $1 million. The task is to stay at that budget, and that's the task that will follow.
The other piece of it, though, is, I guess, building on what you were saying, is that we only invoice for work that's completed. So if we get through the schematic design phase, which I can't remember if it's 15% of our total fee. It's not, you're not paying the whole fee, it's 15% of our fee. If we get to the end of that phase and the board decides, we're reversing back to this, then our fee gets adjusted accordingly. Meaning our fee goes down with the scope. So it's not as though you would be paying for the larger fee plus the smaller fee. It's the
Okay.
point where you pivot. That's where we would need to adjust our fee.
But again, the task is 18 million. That's the task we run with. And it's our job, Boyle's job, to make sure that budget stays on task.
No, I understand that perfectly. But when I vote next week, me personally, and like I said, I'm, laying my cards on the table, I don't want to commit to an $18 project. I want to commit to an $8 million project, notwithstanding what you're going to find when you dig, which is obviously, for all three, it's going to be the same no matter what. Like in my opinion, as I sit right now and I've listened to the discussion and all the questions that were asked and answered, I'm okay with doing the foundational work, doing all that stuff, putting the windows in, getting that done. But that's a cost of $8 million, but when I vote next week, I'm gonna be committing to $20 million, of which then I'm gonna say, well, no, I don't wanna do that. So then I'm gonna be no vote and everybody's gonna say, well, then I'm not interested in the historical building. No, I wanna fix this building, but I wanna do it in a warm, safe and dry manner. And as we talk about other things this evening, I'm gonna have the same argument for every one of them and my reasons for doing so. My concern is, a yes vote to me says I'm committing to an $18 million design project that I'm not gonna be able to get out of.
Could you provide all three versions of the contract
Yeah.
by next Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay,
Prior to next Thursday, because when does it need to be posted?
needs to be posted by Tuesday. Yes, well, it has to be, we have to post it publicly 24 hours before the meeting. So, generally, it becomes, the meeting goes public midnight on Monday, Tuesday morning, and but we can add things to it up until Wednesday at 7 p.m.
It's fine.
So
It's just
when
a couple numbers.
when do you want that?
Wednesday by noon. Because it gives us a chance then to look it over and make sure that there's no egregious.
And of course, it always has pending review. Yeah, so even if you vote, whatever contract you vote yes on, it's still pending solicitor review. Vote, whichever contract you vote yes on, if you vote yes on a contract, it's always pending solicitor review.
So then we're gonna have a choice of three? Is what you're saying? I mean, then we're in the same boat, if we change
Well,
our mind
I think-
on how the
so-
direction that we wanna go.
I'm not, obviously, this is a board leadership decision,
Yeah.
but the way that I envision it laying out on the board is the first thing you do is you would vote on so you and the public are informed, especially, what the contract looks like, all three versions, because they're gonna be different, because there's different scopes depending on the contract. So the first thing you would do, in the way this agenda is laid out, is you would approve an option. So there would be a vote on an option. Which option are you electing to go with these contracts? And then there would be a vote on there'd be a vote for the Murata main contract, and then there would be a vote for the oil contract. So you would be making, but again, you're still not making the decision with that first vote that you're 100% spending $18 million. You're making a decision that we want the design to be at this level.
Right. I understand. Is it possible to, next Thursday, since they're all gonna be prepared, and if I'm not making sense or whatever, please let me know.
Oh, I understand.
Hopefully you understand my concern and my questions. So is there any way that like next Thursday, then we get to this, we get it, and we say, okay, I have a motion to vote on, for the sake of argument, option one, which is the $8 billion option, and then we can vote yes or no. It either passes or it doesn't. If it passes, great. If not, then I have an option to vote on number two.
That's what I was just asking.
You know, and then we could say, and then we have one to vote on option number 3, which is the, you know, the $18 million option, and then we can decide on which way to go, because.
Can we clarify, because, I'm sorry, no, I need to understand better, okay? So option 3 is the design for everything, but at the time of execution, you don't have to go with option 3, because you can decide to scale down. So by voting on option 3 now, it means we have all the possibilities on the table, we know what everything is, and if we want to pick a couple of, I don't know, of these things to execute, not right away, but maybe down the road, because they're not going to disturb the building, we could do that, right? I mean, am I understanding that? Because it's not the actual, you design it and you give us all the details. We don't decide on the execution now.
Whichever option the board selects is the option that the design team will work towards. So if you choose option 3, because that one has the most design work in it, the building would be designed towards a full renovation. Now, are there things that could be identified as alternate bids where you can decide to include it in the project or decide to do it later? Probably. Maybe issue 4 might be an easy one to use an alternate bid, and then you make that decision on bid. But when the project's ready to go out for bid, I don't think at that point you can have so many alternate bids where you say, okay, I'm going back to option A. That's not possible.
And actually, I think during design, option 1 and 2, the mechanical design for that is a little bit different than option 3. Option 3, if we're moving walls and we're taking out ceilings, we have more options of what mechanical system we can use, how to distribute everything. So if we're going option 3, we have all that available to have an efficient mechanical system. If we're switching back, then in option 1 or 2 and you're not moving walls, well, that might completely change the strategy for the mechanical system design.
Because option 3 is more efficient.
Option 3, with moving walls or doing the ceiling work, you can get a better efficient layout, but also potentially better efficient or layout of mechanical systems too.
Thank you, that helps. So,
I've been waiting, everybody just
Yeah.
keeps talking. Anyway, so yeah, I was gonna ask, when Anthony or Mr. Rapp said, you know, pick one now, because we had to drop the contracts, I didn't realize he was trying to do you guys a favor. Understanding in a sense that you didn't want them to draft all 3 contracts. So, but before you talk, let me just ask, there's not much difference between the contracts, but maybe the language, except for maybe the numbers. It might add some scope. So the scope will be, so it's not really a big deal to have all 3 ready, because there are some board members that might want option 1 and have the opportunity to vote on that. And I think that's the most transparent way to go about it. We can go to 3 and say, oh, well, I'll go back, but there's some people that may be looking more at the option 1. So I don't think we should have to make this tonight's not a voting meeting. If there's 3 options, you should be prepared to they're not options unless we get to vote on them, you know? So that was my question to you, was that?
no,
I'm sorry, I was talking to you.
I hear you, but I just spoke to Dr. Sanko, may I? And we are in agreement as to how this will be handled at the upcoming business meeting. To your point, there'll be 3 options available, the 3 different versions of the contract. And the way we'll proceed in the meeting is the motion will be a recommendation from the administration for one of the 3 options. And we will vote on that option. If that option passes, that's the option that we go forward with. And if we don't pass that first option recommended by the administration, then we look at the other 2 options. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, then that's what he was coming to, because I said my first question was, you know, because we need to bring a contract to it, let's choose one now. thought that was, like,
That was more.
I wasn't gonna
Yeah, along the
answer,
way.
I wasn't gonna answer that question tonight.
That was more of an idea about it that I had along the way, so we could do also. Okay.
Yeah, so we will have 3 options available, but there will be 1 recommendation from the administration.
So we'll have 3 contracts to look at.
They will be, yes,
Thank you.
correct.
Yes, Mr. President.
Couldn't this be done through different phases? And isn't it typical that the contract is signed with the client after bidding process to move forward with the well, I guess more to point to the construction costs. These order of magnitude costs could change based upon the construction estimate that's received after the bidding. That these costs here that we're looking at have been indicated that they are not to exceed, but then also they've been indicated that they could go higher, which is opposite of not to exceed. I'm also interested to know which contract language are we using? Are we using an AIA document?
Yes.
For example?
Yes.
Okay. And so that allows different phases of the contract. So the board could move forward with the initial testing phase and to allow that of the construction engineering and allow for further development of some documentation, and then move into the next phase of schematic design, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, down the line. And at some point, we're getting a contractor to commit to a dollar amount.
Mr. Roosevelt, I just want to interject. That's not how the RFP is written. The pricing that they gave us is based on the RFP. If that's the option that we want to do, I suspect that there would be more costs involved because of the length of the process then. The way the RFP was written was that the design process is a continuous process, just like every other project that we've done. Now, if we would like to go to that, then we need to start from step 1 and get different pricing and change the RFP.
Was the board involved in the approval of the RFP, or where did that language come from?
The administration writes the RFP.
Okay.
Anyone else? No. Okay. So everybody's clear, any questions on what expectations is for next week?
Probably 3 options.
We're good?
No, we're 100%. Recommended option.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
Yep.
$1 million option.
We're good to move on from Chancellor.
Do this.
Okay.
Well, hold on, I want to, does any, public comment.
Public comment.
If we could do the public comment first, is there anyone here that would like to do a public comment regarding the transfer center? Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Cheryl Kearns Hills, lifelong resident of Newtown Borough. Again, I thank the board, administration, CR community, and again, these outstanding, impressive firms for the work and now allowing me the opportunity to speak. Again, very impressive work, it was very impressive. And again, it all started here at Adams for their selection of these firms. November's here now. Halloween, the dead, and elections have passed. Let's put the horrors of non-activity behind us and move forward with the best option for Chancellor Center and this community. That is option 3. You've heard the facts from Mariota Maine architects from Boyle Construction. Repairs are still needed and conditions continue to worsen. Don't stop this much needed process to get Chancellor back to its working condition. Continue onward, get us out of the basement in order to see a light at the end of the tunnel that is dry without water. Don't be haunted by poor decisions for years to come. The time is now. May I borrow from Brene Brown's newest book, Strong Ground? Brown believes in the power of strong ground. Might I take the liberty to say that this building needs strong ground. Renee also speaks about today's needed leadership. Get engaged, as the foundation of Chancellor is key to being a stabilizing force in the CR community and will outlast us all. Again, we're talking 20 years. Probably in your case, I won't be around, or you'll be contacting me via a nursing home. So, all of you need to vote for option 3. And again, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, like Cheryl, I'm a lifelong resident of the borough, and I still live in the same house that I was born in. So from that standpoint, having a 1902 home versus an 1880 building, I know what it takes to put it together and put it going. You have seen an excellent presentation, and I think I gathered the sense of this organization, this group that is going to be an advisory, to put forth what is the right thing to do for this community. So as an advisory, I think you need to make a decision. And the decision is that what you want to recommend to the board as their final vote on whether they accept your decision or not. But you are the recommending body. You need to take not the bull by the horns, but you need to make a decision. And I think the decision that you've seen here tonight, that I've heard several of you support, look at and say, this is what we need to do, I think that's what you need to do. So I thank the presenters tonight. It was an excellent presentation, and I think the board has an opportunity now to make this a building that's going to last the next 50 years, which none of us will be here in 50 years. Some of you are younger than what I am, but from that standpoint, I can tell you, like Cheryl, neither of us are going to be here in 20 years to find out how this has gone. But I think the important thing is that you have an opportunity now to make a decision to present to the board that is the right decision to save not only this building, but I think to work towards what is the base of the school district. My father was on the school board in 1963 when they condemned the Lovett Farm, which is over where the high school is now. And that was an extensive, problem for this community because you took farmland away, you had people that were here invested in this community, they had to leave and go elsewhere. It was a decision much like what you're making, spending $18 million. But Council Rock High School, which is there, has been the best thing that's happened to Council Rock at this stage of the game. And the high school needs to change a little bit, but so does everything else. But I think the future of this community rests on what is done here tonight, and I think you have the opportunity to take it and put it to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Terry Conley. I've lived here 30 years. I want to thank everyone for all your time, effort, and review. It's exhausting. But I would agree with Corky that it seems to me as the third option would be something that you will put the time and effort in, you're going to get it done. And again, whenever it's going to need renovation again, I'll probably be in a friend's home with all the rest of you guys.
Or take a nap.
Okay, great. But, having done a renovation on a house that's 90 years old, when I did it, I was like, I gotta get this done, and then I won't have to touch it until I, move away. It was worth it. I did make changes, and I'm gonna say there are things along the way that you may be able to cut costs on. And it sounds like all of you are very amenable to that, even on my renovation. I looked and said, no, I don't want to spend all the money on that. It's not worth that. But I still had the core of what was being done. And again, it's an older house. I had to replace plumbing. Wasn't found until we took walls down. So again, we can trade here and there with certain things in the project. And as long as they are dedicated to keep that process with you, you might be able to spend less than VAT. Like you said, it's not supposed to go beyond that. Thank you, and I want to thank everyone again.
Mary Watts, I've lived in my home since '77. I'm the proud owner of 2 sump pumps, and I empty them frequently. And I just wanted to say thank you for your presentation. And you made me feel very guilty that I have not been cleaning my basement windows, so I will put it on my to-do list. Thank you, it was wonderful. And I'm a person that likes to save old homes. Because once they're gone, they're gone.
Okay, thank you.
Tara Grundy McLaughlin, Newtown Borough, I'm a 26-year resident. I've been coming to many of these meetings over the past however many months. I've spoken multiple times to urge and to advocate and to tell you how impressed I am with you. And I'm going to do that again because I've watched you carefully deliberate, reason, listen to each other, contemplate all the options, and listen to your community. And you are all doing what all of your constituents voted you in for, and even the ones that didn't vote for you, because it's just been tremendous work. And I am so relieved and so grateful as I see you in various perspectives, but coming to the general agreement that this building needs to be saved and retained and shored up and kept for the future. And I agree with my friends, neighbors, and colleagues that option 3 means we don't have to worry about this again for a very long time. We're doing some work on our house, and my husband says, I want 30 years because then I don't have to think about it. No matter what, I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Can I just ask one more question? I think someone on the group that's here made a comment that this group has recommended that the administration will stay in here. Did I hear that correctly? That it was suggested or mentioned? Is it a definitive decision? And now the decision is that you're going to renovate it or do something to keep the administration here? No? Okay, then I misheard. Okay. All right, thank you.
There's no decision that gets made.
No, okay, I understand that. I thought I heard someone say that it was a question.
I think Joe was kind of.
Thank you.
Can I
Yes.
The representative, either Boyle or the architect, mentioned Old Prendy. Is that the Cardinal Prendergast school that went to DCCC? Is that where you put those wells in? Okay, can I ask the board, if you approve it, and if you put in the window wells such that the wall is different, that school and any other buildings we might have done that, perhaps be conveyed, and then this is way off in the future, but before it gets too late, to Harb and to council, so that anybody who might like to make a little road trip and go look at them and get a sense of what they look like, can do so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, Archbishop. I knew that. Thank you.
Okay.
From an administrative perspective, I'd like to just state for the board members that the administration's recommendation for this project would be to renovate the building at the full renovation level with medium renovation. That's based on, first of all, we have 2 firms here that we thoroughly vetted through the RFP process that we're very impressed with and like what they're doing, and they've recommended that is the best option, which I think, with their expertise, that's something that administration is finds that convincing. And then from a business administrator perspective, looking at construction costs and the rising construction costs every year, anything that we don't do now is going to cost more in the future. And those costs are not going, they're not going up steadily, they're jumping. Square footage on a renovation has been jumping. So, and then I'd also like to ask the board just to remember that The administration, Jess and I, especially with this project, plan to be involved with both of these groups and the contractors every step of the way, and making sure that the project is kept within the budget or under the budget that we expected. We're not looking to have the top of the line things done in renovations. We're looking to make it affordable and usable for the future. A 20-year use of this building for administration is better than a 5-year, 10-year coming back and working on it from a cost perspective. So I just want you to state that before next week. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we take a 3-minute intermission before we move on to the next item?
Yes. Yes.
did it. You guys are good.
Okay, welcome back. I'll give it back over to you, Ms. Go ahead.
Thank you. Next agenda item is the Newtown Elementary School and Holland Middle School addition and renovations. Just a recap of what we talked about a few months ago. Newtown Elementary School additions and renovations, major renovation of the existing building, the new entrance, vestibule, mechanical room, and entrance canopy additions. It would mimic the renovations at Richboro and Hillcrest, Richboro Elementary and Hillcrest Elementary. The projected total budget range would be 46.7 to 47.7 million. The handout that I gave you guys today, it's page 4 and 5. Just to remind everybody what we discussed during the master planning phase. And then Holland Middle School addition and renovations is a cafeteria expansion and a 6th classroom addition. The 6th classroom addition is to support the projected enrollment from that we had the enrollment study from Cropper. So this would be in order to handle the additional increased enrollment. The total project budget range is 13.3 million to 13.7 million. So similar to the process that we went through for Chancellor, we had 20 firms attend the mandatory pre-proposal conference and walkthrough. The district received 9 proposal submissions from firms. 3 firms were invited to the presentation interview process. When the proposals and the presentation interview process happened, there were 8 people on the selection committee. Me, Tony, 2 of my facilities staff members, Christine and Gary, both principals and both building mechanics from both schools.
And the other director.
No, and the other directors as well.
The secondary director of elementary.
Yeah, you're
education.
absolutely right. Yeah. Sorry, guys, I forgot.
The director of elementary and secondary. Okay.
Yes, so there was 10 people, not 8, 10, for both architectural and construction management services. So after the interview process, we, as a committee, decided to recommend Schrader Group to move forward with the design and cost for Newtown Elementary School. So we did ask them for 2 prices. Not to separate the project, because the RFP was written as one project combined, but since it's 2 different locations, we have to track the money in 2 separate locations, so we'll have 2 separate contracts. One for Newtown Elementary School, it's the cost for design would be $1,246,600, and the cost for design for Holland Middle School would be $346,800. I will say because Schrader Group did Holland, well, Richboro, thank you, Richboro and Hillcrest, their cost was significantly lower than the other firms that submitted proposals. And same thing with Holland Middle School because they were the designing firm for the middle school when the major renovation was done a number of years ago. Some of the items that were reviewed during the review process, some of the metrics were cost, experience, project approach, and team experience. Would you guys like to ask questions, or do you want me to go on to the CM firm before questions?
Yes. Mr. Hickey, you have a question?
Continue on, like,
Do you want to leave? Okay. I need Ms. Condos.
I do have a quick question, just because it's relevant. I know we talked about it before, but I can't remember. Who designed the current Newtown Middle School? Like,
that was in the early 90s. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
No, Newtown Middle School.
Oh, I'm sorry, Newtown Middle
like,
School.
wait.
Sorry, I was
Yes.
thinking Newtown Elementary.
Yes.
That was Breslin.
Breslin?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then for the construction management services, we had 7 firms attend the mandatory pre-proposal conference and walkthrough. The district received 7 proposal submissions from firms, so we were 100% there. We invited 4 firms to the presentation interview process. Again, those same 10 people sat through the presentation interview process for this as well. The recommended selection is Boyle Construction. The cost for Newtown Elementary School is $857,615, and the cost for Holland Middle School is $513,450. We used the same metrics, cost, experience, project approach, and team experience.
Questions?
Yeah, I guess we're done. I don't see a warm, safe, and dry option for Newtown.
Newtown Elementary?
Yeah,
We talked about a full renovation.
it's always been, so there's no,
Newtown Elementary, we never discussed a warm, safe, and dry. We always had-
so we'll just jump to the 47.
But, well, we would review that. Would we review that?
Well, the discussion during the master planning process was a full renovation similar to Richboro and Hillcrest.
Yeah.
You forgot?
I don't remember, other options being presented. It was just, I was always under the impression that there would be a warm, safe, and dry option for Newtown as well.
I don't recall that. I don't recall that.
We ever had that for elementary schools? No.
We have.
They better be warm, safe, and dry to begin with.
Yeah. It is warm, I will confirm that both schools are warm, safe, and dry at this point in time, yes. I don't know how, we didn't talk about during the master planning process, having options. To my knowledge, when we did renovate, at least when we renovated, we didn't have options. The only option was whether we were going to do the 10 classroom addition or not. Now Hillcrest and Soul Finestone was probably a little bit different because I know there was a lot of conversation about budget and the ability to do work there.
Right, but Richboro Middle didn't have the air conditioning and all the other things, like Newtown Elementary already has the HVAC and all those things.
Except with this renovation, we would be replacing piping, we would be replacing air handlers. This past summer, we did do the chiller because we were losing compressors.
I just, like I said, I question a $47 million renovation to a school that is, I don't know, necessarily needs $47 million worth of work. Richboro Elementary, I know the cost was in the 30s, but they also expanded it by 10 rooms, which Newtown already has.
So just a reminder that these are conceptual budgets prepared by CHA. There is a significant amount of escalation included for year after year. Could we get back down to, will we get back down to the cost of Richboro Elementary? Probably not because of the increase in costs.
And the size.
And the size.
I couldn't believe the construction cost, was it like 33 million?
Yeah, total construction cost is 33,665,000.
The Newtown Elementary, just to remind me, the only addition, because it says addition, the addition is the front vestibule, right? I remember that correctly? It's not classroom addition.
No, there's no classroom addition. It'd be the front vestibule and the boiler room / kitchen gets expanded as well.
They need that. They need
So we
more
can fit
space.
the equipment that we need in there, yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I'll jump in. I'm a little disappointed because I thought the master plan would go further. I was expecting the master plan to be a discussion of how we were going to, which buildings we were going to renovate and over what time, and figure out how to finance them, instead of picking and choosing a couple. At the time that we picked and chose these, I recall us looking to get beyond order of magnitude budgets and get into something a little bit more specific. It seems like that hasn't happened either, and I think that's where Mr. Hickey was talking about home safety and dry budgets. So on the one hand, we're looking at order of magnitude budgets. We're theoretically talking about not to exceed budgets, but then at the same time, we know these budgets are gonna change because it's just an order of magnitude budget. So, I would like to have, as this board has done in the past and previous boards, look at a grouping of projects and figure out how we can finance those projects over time and look at them in consideration of all. Because part of the master plan discussion exposed the fact that there are about $400 million worth of project costs capable, and part of this finance committee, we've realized that maybe we're looking at something between $150 to $230 million that could be raised or paid for. So if we just say 200, we'd have to decide how we're going to select and finance half of those problems or half of those projects. And now we're just narrowing down to a few different projects, and the rest of the projects, maybe we don't have money for, at least in 10 years. So that's sort of my disappointment with this, but I'm not running the bus, so
Well, I thought,
you guys can do what you want.
just, as far as administration, we had talked about the, during the master plan discussion, looking at the high schools and other projects beyond that. But I think we had talked about the fact that we've renovated 8 of our 10 elementary schools, and we had 2 left that we were planning, that were slated for renovation as part of that timeline. And so I think it was, there was a sort of plan as far as that goes, as that we would be planning for those projects in the future, but we knew that we had to complete our already started renovation of the elementary schools. So I think that's where this is coming from as far as what we're looking at doing here. And again, the master plan has not been completed, and I think even when we were talking about the master plan, that we had said that this building and the Welch building, maybe not so much Holland building, but were going to be renovated.
Well, in June, we did discuss, and I'm looking at the paper that you're holding there.
It's the Gantt schedule.
Yeah, we did discuss that, and the board did direct administration to move forward with RFPs on these projects.
We looked at Newtown Elementary School, the Chancellor Center, Holland Middle School. We had then South Stadium and Maureen Welsh, and they were all laid out in the Gantt schedule timeline. So we had discussed it moving forward with the first 3 that were on this timeline.
We were in, remember, as Jess pointed out, we were instructed to go to RFP for first the Chancellor Center, then Newtown Middle and Newtown Elementary, and Holland Middle School,
Yeah.
and then the South Stadium. And we are in of that 4-step process. This is steps 2 and 3. We have the step 4 of that process is out for bid right now and will be completed. We should have recommendations for that by January. So I mean, that's
Ms. Gunn?
Not a question, but I guess I'm gonna kind of follow up from Mr. Roosevelt's question regarding the master planning process, which I never thought was done, but I agree with you that we should continue. I know if you look at this document that we're all holding in front of us, and what Ms. Binda had stated, when, I think maybe not even June, but May, we all sat at this table and said, based upon the timing of things, planning, and based upon the recommendation by CHA, they came, I think, once or twice, I can't remember, in the spring of last year to present. We had our binders, we had the CIP summer projects that we discussed, that, Ms. Binda is exactly correct in saying that these were the 3 next projects to go to RFP for. And we discussed it for a variety of reasons, order of these projects. And, I don't have all of the documents with me here. I have to, we all do, we have them all at home, including the thumb drive and including the binder for whoever took it. So this is not out of left field. Like, we took a big turn, I think, because we had so much discussion around the Chancellor Center. But I know even going back and what I can recall about Newtown Elementary and what CHA presented was the fact that in the order of magnitude of projects, that it would need that full renovation. And then even I know I'm looking at here, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about the 16 modular classrooms because it's such a large school, we can't use Richboro Middle for this. Because it's such a large school and because of also the cost of things now, we can't even really phase it like we did in Sulphine-Stone based upon a variety of things. So this isn't out of, left field. It isn't something that we didn't fully discuss, but I fully do agree with, Mr. Roosevelt that we should and will go back to the master planning schedule. But I know it's been a lot with the Chancellor Center, a lot of RFPs, a lot of really heavy discussions of facilities. So I think we're just kind of trying to get back on track. So, thank you.
Mr. Mercer?
I'll just say quickly, I didn't imply that this was coming out of left field. I just implied that if we use this room as an analogy, and we're gonna paint this room, that we decide which corner to start with, and it not be that one. Because then you're walking back and forth across Freshwork. If we decide to paint a room and we end up in the corner, which is potentially what could happen here, not getting an idea on all of the projects and figuring out what to move forward with, and some way to get a little bit past order of magnitude and figure out how to finance them, is we run the risk of effectively painting ourselves in the corner and running out of money for other projects that just get abandoned for another decade. Doug Taylor spent a lot of time here and came up with the concept of a 20 to 30 year renovation program. And unfortunately, that same schedule leaves 2 high schools and 2 elementary schools and several other schools all combining in that same 10 years at the same time. We don't have currently the money or the finance way to do it. And I haven't seen a plan to suggest otherwise. That's what I was hoping that the master plan would start to uncover, is not only how to finance a lot of projects, but where we can pinch here and where we need to expend more there, and which ones we have to do first. And we never got that far. So we're running more of a risk of painting ourselves in the corner or not having enough money to complete. That's what I expected. I'm not saying that this is coming out of left field to do all these, but there are several projects which we talked about first that we're not looking at tonight. So those are just facts.
Ms. Polly?
Yeah. So I know we haven't touched on the master plan for a while, so we may have different recollections of what we discussed and where exactly what happened, where we stopped. But I do remember Tony telling us that, to budget for it, he needs to know what we want to do and when. And you don't do like a financial plan and, we have to issue bonds, right, at different times. And based on the market conditions, these have different costs or our rating gets into that. We did prioritize projects over the last few years. And these were the top 3 projects, or I think the stadium was the other one, like 4. So my understanding was, we said, okay, let's look at them, figure out how much money it's going to cost. Then Tony will tell us, how we can pay for them. And then we can figure out, I think it was Maury Welsh was next, and then it was the high school, right? I mean, we had that, we have a priority. We know, we have an approximate estimate of cost. But Tony cannot come up with like a plan if he doesn't know when and how. And, also like our tax increases, of course, they affect the budget, and that will affect how much money we can spend for high school down the road. So everything is interconnected. So it makes sense to start, and the more we delay starting, the more it's gonna cost, because every year, construction cost goes so much higher. So it makes sense that this comes to us, it's our priority, and we say to the administration, yes, go ahead and start the planning, because it makes sense, this is absolutely necessary to start and not delay it anymore. We cannot have 8 of the elementary schools renovated and 2 of them not, when they absolutely need renovation. We have to have equity.
Yeah, I do remember us, looking at the Cropper numbers, where the most immediate need was going to be, and then how much money we had as well, and how much money all those costs were. And we said we could begin now. We had a dollar amount from Mr. Rapp, and that's why we instructed, I guess it's CHA, to move forward and do the Gantt chart on those 5 projects, which take us out to 2029, which I believe is when we have more money come available, because we'll be paying off, our financial situation now changes with some other items that are paid off. And that would then allow us from now, over the next year or 2, once these get started, that we can, over the next year actually, is to see where we're going to go now beyond these projects. But we did have to get started, as Yoda's saying, because of the money. So, we talked extensively, because it's been a year with all of these numbers. We waited for the Cropper numbers to come out first, if you recall, and then we wanted to see where we had capacity, where we needed the improvements, and which was the most.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we are where we are right now. So, and I don't remember how much money was coming available, but I know we had already talked about that,
No, my
Yeah.
question was, my initial question was, we had that, I forget how many page document it was. For example, the Chancellor Center, we had 3 options. When we talked about North, we talked about the options of renovating North at $100 million, or building new at North at $200. There was different options. And when it came to Newtown and to Welsh, there were options. One was a $20 million option, was what it was, and the other one was a $40 million. I thought we were going to see both options.
I don't recall having multiple options for Newtown or Welsh.
I believe.
Mr. Tate.
Thank you. See this thing, I wish we were on TV. This is like, a 3-inch binder, it's version number 13. We have been prioritizing and assessing buildings for well over a decade and a half. And the master plan was an expansion on that. We haven't departed from the master plan. We are following the sequence that was laid out in the master plan. We haven't departed from that. We're not abandoning from another decade any projects. Mr. Rapp has laid out for us, I remember clearly what Ms. Stone was referring to, the very clear graph that shows our borrowing and our expenditure on debt service for capital programs. I mean, we've had far more discussion in the past couple of years about this sort of thing than I can ever remember. Sorry for doing this history thing again. But we're getting much more deliberate and coordinated in looking at our long-term capital needs and our financial capability and spending than ever before. So we haven't departed from the master plan. We haven't gone out of sequence. We're following the sequence that has been laid out based on the conditions of the buildings which drove our priorities. So this conversation is mystifying me because we've got a plan, we're working the plan, and we're doing a good job of it.
Hold on, what the documents that you guys are looking at are from the very beginning stages. We've moved from these documents to this in May.
Okay.
So, and you gotta look to see, if you're looking at $20 million, without looking thoroughly, you have to make sure that you're looking at the total project cost, not just the construction cost.
I know what he is talking about. We did at some point do warm, safe, and dry. That's all he was asking.
I don't remember doing I don't remember doing warm, safe, and dry for, that's all of them? Oh, what you guys are referring to is in that book. This is not an option for construction that we're recommending. This is to keep track for me, so I know that as I'm doing summer projects, if I'm not doing a major renovation, and I can't even see what this number is right now, there's almost $25.3 million worth of projects that if I don't do a major renovation, then I have to start planning for. And one of that is a major roof replacement. Thank you. So this discusses part of that book, and that's why when you guys are using that book, you have to be very careful of what you're looking at, because that book is basically, and I don't know what else other term to use, but that's my Bible. That gives me all of the information that I need to get to this point. So you can't just pick and choose certain parts out of there and use that as gospel, because you got to take it as a whole. And that's why when we got to this budget that I'm holding up, the 46.7 to 47.7, this is the major renovation to mimic the other two projects. Now, if we want to do a complete pivot and not do this major renovation, then I'm going to cancel the RFP process for both the architects and CMs, and we have to start back to step one to say, all right, well, what is the scope of work? Is it just warm, safe, and dry? But if you only do warm, safe, and dry, you're not painting any of the classrooms, you're not replacing any of the lighting, you're not replacing any of the piping in the hallways. So you're not doing that major renovation. You're not increasing the size of the cafeteria to allow for the food service to do their thing, for lack of a better term. So there's a lot of stuff that is not included in that warm, safe, and dry.
I didn't get to talk yet.
I'm sorry.
No, I think, all right, so I think what Mr. Hickey's talking about, a year ago, when we were still in the initial discussion phases, full-on of the facilities master planning, we pulled out that binder, Doug Taylor came, CHA came, we talked about the CIP project, which Ms. Binda is talking about, and I remember the Newtown Elementary School roof needs full replacement. It's like $3.5 million. Then there's systems like the electrical and HV, because it's now, I forget now, like 40.
31 years old.
Whatever the math
Yes.
is when it opened
Yes.
in 1993.
Exactly. And then we even talked about there was a little bit of renovations in whatever 2000, but it doesn't address any of like the big projects, like the roof or the systems. So then you add those things up, and then you know that it's now a 30-some-year-old building, that we're like, okay, so let's, based upon the recommendations by CHA, and Jess with her, Ms. Bindel with her book, that's where the Newtown Elementary came up as one of the next elementary schools that is in most need, based upon those, remember the critical list of like, yes.
Oh, I'm not questioning the sequence.
No, right, but I'm saying that's where I think, when you're thinking about the warm, safe, and dry, I'm just trying to put it all back together of like, because it's been so many months that we've talked about this. So all the pieces, you're not incorrect in what you're recalling, it's just like those, all the other pieces that we discussed, and that's where we got to the RFP, and I know we distinctly, as the board, said to you all, yes, do that, because those are the next buildings that need major care. That's where we are today, 6 months later. All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
So are we, I'm sorry, I'm confused at this point. Are we moving forward with, to take this to the board, or are we modifying? What do I do?
We'll just, we'll put it on the agenda and the board will decide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would recommend that it not be consent, thank you.
Yep, okay, got it. All right, the next item.
Can I ask before we move on? I'm sorry, I do think it should go on the agenda, but I do want to understand the difference, and I know costs go up, but, you know, that document from a year ago said that it was like $26,000. 26 million, I'm sorry.
That was only warm, safe, and dry.
That's, and warm, safe, and dry is not.
Oh, it's construction costs, that's what I, okay, thank you, then that's reasonable. Okay, so it did go up, but it's like, yeah,
Just here.
it's that, okay, I understand,
There's $10 million.
I'm with
just here.
you, thank you, got it.
So the,
Good.
So we covered both contracts. Both
Yes.
sides.
yes.
Thank you.
No, any other questions?
We do.
Mr. McKee?
That's their combined, that's one project.
Thank you.
But you do want two separate contracts.
Yeah, because I need to track the money in two separate buckets.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Last question.
It's not going to be on consent.
Here's the number.
No, that's all right.
Which one? Okay.
The next item is maintenance trucks bid, replacement bid 2536. So before I start, in the past number of years, we haven't had a plan to replace the maintenance trucks that we have. Our maintenance trucks are used for grounds, they're used for specialists, they're also used for plowing. So there is a number of trucks, and it's so we can start our fleet management plan moving forward. And keep in mind that a number of these trucks are can no longer be driven on the road because they don't pass inspection. So keep that in mind as I go through. And there's also pictures attached so you guys can see the quality of the trucks that we can't use at this point. So we are down a number of trucks. We have guys that are teaming up with each other, riding in the same vehicles. That does cut down on some productivity when they need to be at two different schools doing two different tasks. So the first one for truck.
May I interrupt for a minute? Can you also talk about the plan you've developed and are developing, 10-year lifespan
Yes.
expectancy?
Yeah, so on average, our trucks are lasting about 10 years. When you see the number of mileage, keep in mind that these trucks are not your personal vehicles. These trucks are taking a beating every single day with the work that we're doing, whether it's plowing and salting, or it's taking materials to schools to do repairs. So what we're doing now is to build a replacement plan so that we're not buying 4 or 5 vehicles a year, and to space it over so that we can more accurately budget for these vehicle replacements.
And before we move on, also to address concerns that have come up in the past, these bids were based on, the request for bids were based on any vehicle manufacturer being able to bid on them. So we didn't say that any, look for a specific vehicle manufacturer. We said that it would be a vehicle manufacturer based on this type of truck or this level of truck. But it could have been any, but we did, for the most part, we only received bids from the Ford dealership. So it wasn't that we limited it to any one brand, but it was available for any brand or dealership to bid on, and they were advertised appropriately, and as always, they're on our website for them to find the requested bid.
We also have a spreadsheet of approximately 20 to 30 car dealerships within the area that I personally emailed the specifications to try to drum up some more interest on it. So it did follow all of the processes that we typically do for all of our bids. So truck number 1 was a replacement of a 2005 Ford F-250 that's no longer operational. The truck's used for district-wide grounds crew and plowing. The proposed replacement is a 2026 Ford F-450 four-wheel drive with stake body and plow packages. This is to support our district-wide grounds crew. It helps with collecting of materials and also pulling one of our trailers with grounds equipment that gets hauled to different schools. We received 1 bid on Thursday, October 23rd. We are recommending the award for Sands Ford of Red Hill for $95,020. The replacement, the delivery would be in March to April 2026. If you guys take a look at the truck, on the left, it's parked. It's up at South right now. You can see the undercarriage is extremely rusted. Under the wheel wells are extremely rusted. And the picture on the right-hand side shows the compartments on the bed that you can't even use them because they're completely rusted out. Truck 2 is the replacement of a 2011 Ford E250 with an enclosed service body, rear-wheel drive with over 50,000 miles. Currently, we cannot plow with this truck or with this E250 because it is rear-wheel drive. Because there was some trade-in value, we asked for this to be traded in. The previous truck, we did not because there is no value to it. It's worth more money in junk money than anything. So on this truck, the trade-in value is $4,500. There are repairs needed to pass inspection that are worth more than this value. Truck, again, is used for district-wide HVAC specialist and plowing. Right now, the specialists are riding together in one vehicle. So the replacement would be a 2026 Ford F-350 four-wheel drive with an enclosed service body and plow package. Again, we received 1 bid on Thursday, October 23rd. We would recommend award to Sands Ford of Red Hill for $84,522 with an anticipated delivery of March to April of 2026. This is a picture of the existing vehicle. You can see that it's pretty beat up. There's some rusting on the bed of the vehicle, the enclosed body. I don't have any pictures of the underneath, but there's definitely rusting on the underneath on this one. Again, this is a rear-wheel drive vehicle, so we cannot plow with this vehicle, so when it snows, this one sits. Truck 3 is a replacement of a 2015 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive single cab with over 34,000 miles. The trade-in value that we received is $9,000. The trade-in values are included with the costs for the vehicle. So, the cost was $50,000 and they gave me a trade-in value of $5,000. The total overall cost is $45,000. So that the number that you see there for the recommended award amount includes that trade-in value. The replacement proposed is a 2026 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive with a plow package. This truck is used for district-wide grounds and plowing at South. And we received one bid from Sands Ford of Red Hill for $46,285 with an anticipated delivery of January to February of 2026. Picture of the existing vehicle. You can see the bed is pretty rusted out. Underneath, the bed from salting and plowing in this truck, the bed's pretty rusted out, so it's served us well.
Mr. Furtado?
Just real quick, we spent a lot of time on these two cars, we knew that we had to get rid of them, because they need to be replaced, but as far as the value, the price, it's just the MSRP, right? From there, that's, and maybe the tow package could have been, but you only got one bid, but it all aligns with MSRP.
Yes, there's nothing that, MSR, our anticipated cost was $50,000 and we got a bid for $150,000. Everything is pretty much in line with what we had expected.
I would expect they would do that. Thank you.
They don't know that there's only one bid, but, the dealership
Ford is a
could.
Ford.
They could.
Okay.
Thank you. So I know we talk about this every year, and I think even Mr. Roosevelt or Ms. Osecki asked in the past. I feel like we replace a truck every year, and in this case, 3. Would you mind just refreshing the first one, the 2005, I don't even know how long that's been out of commission. It clearly looks like it hasn't moved in a decade. So, two-part question. It seems like we only had one bid, so the red Sands Hill Ford or whatever, it seems like they're the one that put in the 3 bids for 3 Fords. There wasn't like a package deal or bundle or delivery discount because it's 3 that we're getting
we gave
from one place.
There is one more truck here. We gave the option that if I got 5 bids and location 1 for truck 1 was the cheapest, I could go with that. Location 2, I could go with that, location 3, so that I could pick and choose. They weren't necessarily gonna get awarded all of the trucks if it made more sense and it was a cheaper price for the district to award to 4 different locations.
Okay, so kind of a little bit of flexibility in
Yes.
that, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that, I was hoping we would have multiple bids in competition. Last year, what did we buy last? I forget what it was, but we did get multiple bids, so I was able to have some flexibility on who I awarded to. Unfortunately, because of the world we're living right now, it was only one bid.
Okay. And what were since truck 1, looks like he hasn't moved in a decade, what has the district been using?
Nothing. We've been teaming up. My team has been inefficient because we've been running more than one guy per truck.
Okay, all right. So these 3, I guess 4, including the box truck, which you haven't talked about because it's a separate.
5, hold on.
That's 5?
Yep, hold on.
Oh, boy. Okay.
So truck 4, a replacement of 2008 Ford F-550, 2-wheel drive with a dump with over 80,000 miles. This vehicle will not pass inspection. The trade-in value is $4,000. Truck is used by district-wide grounds crew. It hauls ground equipment and also is plowing. The current truck does not plow because it's only a 2-wheel drive. We're proposing a 2026 Ford F-350 4-wheel drive with plow package. Again, we received one bid from Sands Ford of Red Hill for $51,860 with an anticipated delivery of between January and February of 2026. So right now, this is sitting at Carver's because it's going to cost us more than what it's worth to get it to pass inspection. You can see some of the back of the dump has been welded. The top right picture shows a welded patch. Again, we've used these trucks. They have served us well. But at this point in time, it does not make sense to put more money into them when they're not worth what you're putting into. And then the box truck replacement. We have a 2028 Ford F-550 box truck with over 75,000 miles. This truck,
2000,
what did I say?
2020.
Oh, sorry. We're not there quite yet. I'm fast forwarding. I did see Back to the Future this weekend, so. Replacement of the 2008 Ford F-550 truck with over 75,000 miles. The box truck's used for district-wide deliveries such as paper, facilities products, furniture, supplies, etc. It's a 16-foot box truck with 2,500-pound tuck under lift gate. We received one bid from Sands Ford of Red Hill for $76,393 with anticipated delivery between March and April of next year. We did not get a trade-in value with this because I felt that if we did a trade-in value, we might not get the full value of this. So my proposal for this one is to auction it off so that we can potentially get more money than, say, $5,000 or $8,000 for it. And if we do choose to auction it off, we can set a minimum for it. But you can see the bottom left picture is the lift gate, and that kind of middle picture in there is the rust for the lift gate. The bottom right and the top right are the rust on the frame of the truck. Again, this is a 2008, so it has served the district well. It is a workhorse. Our warehouse guy, Rob, is constantly moving things within the district from building to building, constantly delivering supplies for us. And it also gives us the ability that if we need to go pick something up, we have the ability to do that too. If we have an emergency or someone can't get a delivery to us, it gives us that ability.
We use this for the kindergarten.
We definitely use this and we've had this thing packed top, bottom, left to right, front to back with kindergarten furniture. So it's heavily used, obviously, with 75,000 miles. Again, if this is your personal vehicle, that's not a whole lot of miles, but within the district, they're hard miles that we use our vehicles. That is the vehicle replacement proposal.
So second. How many trucks do we have in the district?
So this is a list of both facilities and transportation, but
I don't care about facilities for now.
yeah. Let's see. Vans, one. Can I get back to you on that so that I can accurately count? Because we probably have about 15 vehicles, plus or minus. But I can accurately get a total count.
Okay. All right, go to Mr. Roosevelt and come back to me and
We're not,
we'll finish that discussion.
we're not asking to increase the number of vehicles. So we'll be titled and insured the same amount of vehicles. We won't be increasing them.
That's something before we, there are, 5 vehicles. We did have several of these up for last year's budget. That we talked about that last month, that we had these on last year's budget. We were not able to find a vendor that could deliver in time. And if we don't get the goods before the end of, by June 30th, we can't count it in that budget year. So we basically didn't purchase them last year.
Mr. Musil.
Thank you. I was going in the same direction as you, Ms. Oseki, and I'm happy that Ms. Benda pulled out a document. I'm wondering if that could be shared with the board, that document. And I'm also wondering if we could do some analysis of the age of the vehicle, how long we have it in service before we need to replace it, and kind of come up with a bit of an anticipated replacement schedule. And maybe it's already done, I imagine it.
We're working on that.
Yeah. So we need these vehicles, the district needs these vehicles. We've heard how it impacts efficiency. But we also, I think it would also be interesting to look at some of the RFPs for these. But the question that I was gonna ask before before Ms. Oseki was speaking was, do we do any undercoating, especially on the ones that do plows?
Yes.
And does that undercoating include like a fluid-based lanolin substance to protect against all the salt corrosion?
Yes, so our grounds crew typically every year undercoats all of our vehicles.
Because that doesn't look very freshly undercoated.
I can guarantee you that we do undercoat all of our vehicles.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because of the caustic nature of the salt, this is what the vehicles look like even with the undercoating.
Are we using a fluid-based lanolin product for that undercoating, or are we just using black Rust-Oleum spray paint?
No, it's.
Anything wrong with black Rust-Oleum spray paint?
I don't know what the actual product name is.
Okay.
But we are using a undercoating material that we have purchased strictly for undercoating of vehicles. It's not just a Rust-Oleum spray paint. I can guarantee you that.
Do we have bed liners also, especially in the pickup trucks?
Some of them.
Especially the new ones.
Especially the new ones. That is absolutely something that we should be adding into that. Similar to when we bought the van, we got a mat for the back so it doesn't scratch up. So that's definitely something that we'll be adding in on our side so that it's not inflating the cost of the actual truck.
Completely agree. That's wonderful. And the other question is, we had two Ford vehicles. I think there were two Ford 50s. One of them was about $95,000. The other was like $46,000. I'm assuming the 95 is the one that's fully loaded. Both of them were 2026.
Yes.
And so my only concern is these vehicles get used regularly by many people for hard work. And that's why they need to be replaced, and the damage that we're seeing is reflective. I don't know how wise that is to get fully leather seats and all of this other electronics package that might be.
They're not fully loaded. They're not fully loaded.
I will say there is heat and air conditioning. We're not barbaric. There is a radio, but it's not leather. It's not heated seats.
Okay.
They are the bottom, I guess, bottom level
They're
vehicles.
basically the XL model of Ford. They're the work model.
Yeah.
The fleet brand truck on all of them.
So why is one almost twice the cost of the other?
Because of the options that are in it. I can go back to.
Yeah, I don't think we need to scrutinize that detail here in this board meeting, but it would be interesting just to sort of, because especially to the 2026s, right? We're effectively building a truck, and a lot of times we don't get a lot of bids, and we gotta pick with what we got.
Because these are not sitting on a lot somewhere. You can't just go to your.
These then? Are we building these custom order? Or?
They have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because unfortunately, 10, 15 years ago, you could go to the local Ford dealership and, because I know there's one on Street Road. You could just go and pick one of these trucks up off of and buy it, but they don't do that anymore. So if you are ordering them directly from Ford, Ford makes it. In fact, I'll get if the board approves and I'm able to send a PO to Sands Ford, they'll send me a confirmation number through Ford and a tracking number, so I'm able to see where it's at in the assembly process, when it's getting shipped to Sands Ford, and then Sands Ford looks it over and then calls me and says we're ready to go.
So we ordered two different trucks for similar purposes with different options, one almost twice the cost of the other.
If I could just jump in, so if you look at the one truck too that Jess has up there. So the base price of a truck is what the base price is. because it's going to be used for snow plowing, we wanted four-wheel drive. That's going to be an increase in price. Because this one particularly is going to be used for HVAC, we need an enclosed service body. Because we're going to plow with it, we need a plow package.
Absolutely.
Right, so all of those things are upcharges. Now, if you go to another one, you'll see it's an $84,000 purchase.
The other one doesn't.
This one is 46.
Yeah.
On this one, we're being upcharged, we're paying for four-wheel drive, we're being paid for a plow package. That we're getting a trade value that's higher. There's not an enclosed body, that's a metal body for that our HVAC guys need. So the upcharges are not leather seats and cooled and heated seats. It's not, necessarily, it's not a remote start or any of those things, but it's based on what the truck is being used for.
Okay. So that enclosed body, is that a box truck?
That looks like similar to that.
No, this is the truck that's 84,000, like the new one's 84,000.
Yeah.
That's a big upcharge,
That's a whole
all
different
those
thing.
compartments on it.
Got it.
The utility compartments, and then the box truck is the one that Jess said we're going to auction off because we think we can get more money for it.
Yep.
And you can see that is just a three-passenger vehicle. It doesn't have
Right.
a crew cab or an expanded cab on it, and that's what we haul, our reams of paper, and when it's wintertime, we even haul the salt to the different buildings from that truck.
With some of these retired vehicles, I know MBIT has an automotive, and when it's something that we can't auction off or sell, could we send them to MBIT for the automotive lab, for the kids to practice how to use a needle scaler to remove rust and different things to treat rust, and perhaps practice their welding on with their new welding lab, or figure out how to repair it.
Two things on that, and Jess, you can jump in here too. So MBIT has finite amount of space, and if they can take it and it's where the kids are on projects, we can do that at times. But we also have a course at the high school, Learn Your Automobile, I think. I don't remember the exact title of the course, but they'll even take, what's it called?
Know your car.
Know Your Car, thank you. They'll even take it for our kids right here on the Council Rock campuses to use it.
But we also want to make sure that we cross our dot our i's and cross our t's with the solicitor, because some of these vehicles might not be even at that level. There could be
That first one, right?
I'm hoping that when we tow this away, it doesn't fall apart.
The liftgate one comes to mind for me first in that, with the hydraulics and
But there could be a liability to the district, so we would definitely, if that is the option for any of these, we would want to make sure that we talk to our solicitor, see what the liability is for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wonderful, thank you.
Actually, Mr. Roosevelt's questions helped quite a bit, so I'm cutting back on my questions, so thank you. I guess just two, both regarding snow plowing. So did we consider, not knowing anything about a snow plow, did we consider using the snow plow from the one that's been sitting 10 years instead of buying a new snow plow?
So snow plows are similar to vehicles. They have a useful life. So all of these vehicles include new plows because the plows get worn out. As you're pushing along on the asphalt, that bottom blade gets shot.
And then my next question, also related to plowing, is it seems like we're getting more plows than we currently have. Are we going to do more plowing than we currently do?
So when we have more vehicles, we have the ability to do more plowing and have the ability to do it quicker.
And then we wouldn't be, I know some of the buildings we plow our own now.
Yes.
But in theory, maybe we don't have to pay for a plow for, North or something. I don't know where we.
The high schools are a bad example because of the sheer amount of plowing. But just say Goodnoe. And honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head if we have a contract with Goodnoe or not, but that's something that we could potentially plow with. Now, most of these vehicles we're not getting until March or April of this
But not
year.
this year.
So unfortunately, what's the saying with best laid plans? But that is something that we could potentially look at. Again, it will increase the ability to plow at a quicker rate. So if we get a snowstorm at 2 o'clock in the morning and we're in at 4, having the ability to plow quicker, we could potentially then open up school instead of delaying the opening or canceling openings. And it also, the salting with the spreaders, and also having more trucks that we can drive in four-wheel drive, it gives us the ability to salt, so we're not paying the contractor to come in and salt after a snowstorm.
Okay, thanks.
And I believe we have 14 vehicles total.
Okay, so we're replacing a third,
Yes.
full third, right?
Yes.
And part of the plan is obviously gonna be that we don't have 5 vehicles 10 years from now that need to be replaced, so we have to look at which vehicles are going to be the most used as far as which ones we're gonna replace first in that new schedule. Whether we have some vehicles go longer than maybe, or shorter, but we.
Well, I guess that brings up another question. Are we gonna be here next year saying we have 2 more trucks to be
Well,
replaced? Yes?
Yeah, we have to get, on track with it. There was no plan, before we came in. We're trying to make that, make that happen so that it, I know we're big on, plan replacement. We're working on that in, several different areas in the, so we're planning ahead for what we're replacing and not just, oh, we need a new truck or we need a new, steamer in that building or whatever. We know 3 years from now, we have to get a new steamer here. And then we're planning for that ahead of time.
Steamers and food service.
I was like, oh, a steamer for my clothes.
So, no. So what Tony's referring to is that we have, we needed to purchase a steamer for North. That's gonna, you guys will see that in December, I think it's December. But we're working on both food service and this plan to try to put together a plan on how I'm not buying 5 vehicles all at once. Because that's in budgeting, we need to make sure that we're budgeting at a more level rate. Because I don't like buying spending this amount of money on vehicles.
Yeah, we don't like coming in with this amount of vehicles.
Any other questions? Next item is the Churchville Elementary Johnson Controls HVAC Controls Upgrade Change Order. If you guys remember back in February, you approved a building-wide HVAC controls replacement project. The project is about 99.9% done. As we were going through the renovation, or the replacement, we found a failed building automated systems integration communication card on the chiller. So we're not able to integrate the chiller into the current controls package. We also can't see what the chiller is doing and how it's performing. So we need to replace it to incorporate a new controls to control the chiller. Replace the change order for Johnson Controls is in the amount of $6,787. This price does include installation, and it does include, incorporating that into the current controls package. Next item is the termination of the emergency generator inspection and maintenance agreement. We would like to terminate the existing emergency generator inspection and maintenance agreement. The existing agreement was through June 30th, 2028. When we were working with this firm, I guess they had a misunderstanding that we would be paying them quicker than we can. And there were some interesting conversations and that were rude and inappropriate. And he also, the firm also threatened to no longer, if we didn't pay in 2 weeks, they would no longer service our generators on an emergency basis.
Cool.
Yep, so, Unfortunately, I think it was in the district's best interest to terminate this agreement and to move on. So we notified the contractor because in all of our contracts, we have a 30-day out clause. And we sent the notification, we have not heard anything back. So we have a temporary firm in place that if we have any emergency generator emergencies, we are able to call in the previous firm right now. So we did go out to bid for a new vendor. Unfortunately, this previous vendor thought the bid was due in November. So we did only get 2 bids. One's from GenServe and one is from GMH Associates of America. There are 2 outrageous amounts of money. They bid on the exact same thing. I don't know what GMH was looking at. GenServe is within reason from the previous bid. So if you look at the 2025-2026 cost of $4,750, it's because they're only going to be doing half the contract. Part of the contract is doing an inspection twice a year. The first inspection was already done by the previous company, so the second inspection will be over winter break. And that's why in 26-27 and 27-28, there is an increase for the full service. We would be recommending to move forward with GenServe LLC for a total 3-year agreement of $35,150.
Whenever I see bids like this that are this far apart, I imagine you do the same thing, where you call up to make sure that the lower bid was understood everything and
Yes.
didn't miss something, and you call up the high bid and you try to make sure that they're not overbidding and expecting something different.
So I did not call the high bid because they were so outrageous. What I did for the low bid was call them, everything's included, they understand the scope of work. And it's also within line of the bids that we received last year, so there was a double check on that.
Great.
Yeah, you're exactly right. When you see 2 numbers and you're thinking, oh my God, what did the first guy miss? But he's in line with the previous bids.
Wonderful. I agree. It's probably not worth your time to explain that if it's in line. Thank you.
He understands how we pay.
He understands how we pay. Yeah, I mean, in our contract, it does not quote a 2-week turnaround, does not say that we pay in 30, 60, or 90 days. I'll leave it at that. Any other questions? Okay. Next item is asbestos abatement at Twining Ford Road and Sale House. I want to start off this conversation by saying that we do not have any risk to any staff or students at this time. This work is, so in the beginning, so we have to do a 6 months a HERA inspection. There's actually 2 inspections that we're required to do for asbestos. We'd have to do a 3-year inspection. And then every 6 months, we have to do a 6-month inspection, and that's to monitor any asbestos materials within our district. So any of the schools that still have any known asbestos in it, we have to continue inspecting every 6 months. So this scope of work is as a result of the required 6-month HERA inspection performed by Element Environmental, who is our environmental firm that helps us manage all of the HERA requirements and all of our known asbestos. So we received 3 quotes on Thursday, October 23rd. The base bid scope included removal of, so ACM stands for asbestos containing material. So it's removal of ACM pipe insulation and removal of ACM floor tile in the maintenance building C at Twining Ford, and the removal of 3 square feet of ACM floor tile in the attic of Sale House. Bid alternates included the complete removal of all ACM containing materials in maintenance building C and the Sale House,
and to repair ACM pipe installation in Maintenance Building B. The reason why I'm recommending that we select these alternates to be included is A, the lower cost of just removal. And then Maintenance Building C is where we store all of our materials. So the carpenters are in there, the electricians, the HVAC mechanics. So as they're moving pipe and 2x4s around, doing a complete removal eliminates the cost, the chance of any more damaged material. And then I'm recommending the removal of all of the floor tile at Sale House and removal of the mastic, which is the glue that the floor tile sticks to. Because it is only an increased amount of $4,611, and you guys will see in the next slide, I'm proposing a roof replacement project at Sale House. So it'll support the work that we're proposing to do this summertime. With the Sale House, the removal will include removing all the floor tile and removing the existing plywood up in the attic. There was two options to just remove the mastic from the plywood, but plywood's cheap enough that it made sense and quick enough to remove all of it and just remove it from the Sale House altogether. And then my crew will come in and replace the floor tile after the area has been cleared by Element. And then the repair of the ACM pipe insulation at Maintenance Building B, that is where the offices are for my maintenance crew. So the small amount that's there, it makes sense not to remove it and just maintain it there. So we'll do some repair work there, which is $600. So the recommended award will be with Sargent Enterprises for $15,753. Sargent is also who did the asbestos abatement at Sulphine-Stone and the mercury floor abatement at Sulphine-Stone. So we do have experience with them as well. And then through the process, Element will be doing the oversight and the inspections while under containment.
I have to ask, just out of curiosity, the 3 square feet in the attic, is that installed, or was that like a landing to an entrance into the attic, or was it just stored there and left there over time?
No, it was what the floor material was in the attic.
3 square feet.
So the 3 square feet were the loose tile. So in the base bid, we were only removing those 3 square feet. And I said, time out, that doesn't make sense. Why would we remove 3 square feet and then next year remove another 5 square feet? If we can afford to do it, and I think we can, let's just get it removed once and for all, then we don't have to worry about it. It's not on our inventory list anymore to maintain. We don't have to inspect it anymore. Let's get it out.
Get all of it out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the entire attic, which I don't know how, I don't have the square foot number up there, but it's not a whole lot of square feet. It's maybe,
48,
yeah, somewhere around there.
And why was there asbestos tile installed in an attic? Used for storage at one point? Or?
I can only imagine that when people lived in there, that it was used. There's nothing up there right now used. It's a locked space, so students cannot access it. Staff can't access it. It's not used for storage.
Weird.
Yeah, it's. Yeah.
And that was a private residence that the district bought years ago. And as Jess said, that attic has been off limits to everybody
Might have been a
for as long as I can remember, but.
And it still will be, like, we don't intend to use it for anything. There's no need to go up there, but instead of maintaining it and tracking it, it makes sense just to remove it's under $5,000.
I was just curious, you're saying that every 6 months you have to do an inspection?
Yes.
So you're very aware of that building, the buildings are full of asbestos because of the age of the buildings? Or how is it that all of a sudden it comes to light when you're doing these inspections?
So it doesn't come to light. We know where the asbestos is in the district. Thank God, and it's one of the reasons why I came to this district, we're not full of asbestos. We have very little asbestos here. So when we do find that it's damaged, we take care of it immediately. There's no need to delay taking care of it and just removing it.
So you're aware of where there's other asbestos in that?
Yes.
In that site?
Yes. So the,
But as long as it's not damaged, we don't have to do an abatement?
correct.
Okay.
Yep. Next one is the 2026 summer projects, the projects we're proposing to do. If you guys remember, I think about a year ago, we did the buckets and 3 buckets of money. This is the summer projects bucket. So the first one is Sale House, roof siding and window replacement for an anticipated total project cost of $127,300. This, again, I think Andy spoke on it. The Sale House is used by our special services team, and it's used to bring kids in to try to teach them life skills. They use it for teaching them how to change sheets in a bed and how to cook in a kitchen. It is how to do laundry. So it's a really cool setup that the kids have, and it's the house looks just like everybody else's house. There's not a lot of ADA accommodations made in the house, so that kids can learn how to use the items in their house as well. So it would be a roof, siding, and window replacement project.
I had the pleasure of going in there earlier this week when it was being fully utilized. It was really great to see what was going on in that building. The kids were very happy to be in there, and they were learning, and it was great. I think it's a building that we need to get some of this stuff done for.
Can I request, when we do the roofing and siding and windows at the Sale House, can I request some signage over there? Because people are always asking me, like, what is this building? Like, what, like, because we drive around it to go for car drop off, and
yes,
and nobody knows what it is. And nobody knows if the district owns it or doesn't own it, or if it belongs to Roberts Ridge Park. So this seems like a good opportunity to, I mean, this is a gem that we have in the district, so it seems like a good opportunity to let people know about that.
Absolutely. Next one is North and Newtown Middle School paving and sidewalk maintenance. Most of this work is to maintain the existing paving. A lot of it is a lot of seal coating. Obviously with Newtown Middle School, it's still in great shape, but we need to make sure that we seal coat so that the paving does stay in great shape. So anticipated, and north, there is some milling and overlaying. If you know the parking lot that's close to the softball field, that needs to be milled and overlaid, and there's some other areas that need to be milled and overlaid. I think the summer before I started, North had some paving, but we need to continue with some additional paving in that area. So it's anticipated project cost of almost $1.2 million, to $1,199,250. The next one is north partial roof replacement. Around the auditorium, there is some very tired roofing there that is starting to develop some leaks. So we do need to do some partial replacement there. An anticipated project cost of $1,102,725. The next is the Walt Snyder Stadium LED lighting replacement. Each year we have a bid for the existing lights to be re-lamped. This past year when the contractor was in, they alerted us that the existing wiring is brittle and failing. So if we are going to be doing rewiring of all the lights, it makes sense to replace the LED lighting at that time. With the LED lighting, we'll have some payback with some cost energy savings. But we will also reduce light pollution. If you guys leave here and see the lights on, it's very bright at nighttime. So these lights will be more directed towards the field, and we'll be utilizing the existing posts for that new lighting. So the anticipated cost is $616,750. The next item is south exterior power washing, ceiling, and metal panel replacement. If you guys have driven past south in the past year or so, there is, it needs to be cleaned. There's a lot of black film on the exterior of the building just from over time. The building, getting rain and not drying out. And then, the metal panels that are currently on the building, we're proposing to start with the front of the building. The metal panels, when I called the manufacturer, they actually informed me that they should never have been installed in this area of the United States. And then I asked them about painting, and they said, no, you can't paint the panels. And so then they suggested cleaning. Well, the panels are faded. It's not cleaning. It's not a cleaning issue. And they're also, whenever we have heavy windstorms, some of them are starting to pull off. So we've had to spend money to replace or re-secure some of the panels. So we would like to start with the front of the building, and the front of the building is included in the estimated cost of $696,310. The next is north and south. Go ahead.
What are you replacing them with?
With an appropriate panel material.
Okay.
Yes, we don't.
You just said they didn't recommend that we put.
No, so we're going to remove the existing panels. There are panels.
That are recommended for northeast
area of the
United States?
Yes. So if you guys remember, we did some panels over at Churchville, I believe 2 years ago, because we had some water infiltration. Those types of panels are rated for this area of the United States.
Okay.
So we will definitely be changing the material and the product.
Thank you.
Yes, we're not going to make that mistake again. So the next one is the north and south laser cutter exhaust system. This is to support the, what's the name of the program? Industrial arts program at both schools with a new laser cutter. The total estimated cost will be $111,000. This will include an exhaust fan and ductwork to the exterior of the building to exhaust the laser cutter system. Next is the Holland Middle bathroom tile installation. So over the summer, we put FRP, which is a fiber, what's the word of it? But yes, fiber reinforced panel, thank you, on the lower part of the walls. Unfortunately, middle schools take a complete beating, and the walls are still taking a beating. So we need to put some tile into the existing bathrooms to protect the walls. I can't explain how a kid in a backpack goes through a drywall wall. I don't know how it happens, but it does. So putting tile and tile board up will protect the walls and make them more durable so we don't have that issue anymore. Okay, and then the last one is Holland Middle stair and landing floor replacement. So if you go into the cafeteria, right now there's those kind of the stairs and landings that the kids eat on. It's carpet right now. It's gross, and it needs to be replaced. The kids sit there and eat because of how large the population is and the lack of room in the cafeteria. This does tie into the future project, and I realize that we are going to be spending money on flooring that we potentially will be removing once we do construction. But I strongly believe that this flooring needs to be replaced because I can't describe it other than it's gross. Kids are eating on it, things get spilled. It's peeling away. We are actively cleaning it as much as possible. ABM brings in the extractor to clean it, every couple months to make sure that we're cleaning it up, but it does need to be replaced with more of a durable material that's easier to be cleaned. The total estimated project cost is $50,800.
Question. I'll start with the last one. So was this, I guess that was new construction that we had to replace because it wasn't maybe durable enough, and do you anticipate having to keep replacing it?
So I think the idea was that those spaces were going to be used for kids to kind of sit and hang out after lunch. But now, since the school population has grown, they're using that area for kids to eat. So they're spilling, things are getting dropped, and the flooring, the type of floor needs to change.
Is it wood?
No, right now it's carpet.
Oh, okay.
We'll be
Well, that makes
changing
a lot
it
of
to a vinyl type material,
Okay,
LVT, something like that.
that's fine. Thank you. So you're, just because this always I always, in the back of my mind, when we do these summer projects, we throw out projected numbers, I'm like, we're already telling the people what we're thinking we're gonna pay. So I'm guessing there's a standard process that we use to make estimates, like whether it's the square footage. So I'll pick on like the two big ones for like the paving or the roofing. You determine a square footage that you already know you're gonna ask them to replace.
So these are the
Do cost
projects.
standards?
Yes, so these are the projects that we work with CHA on. So they have their estimators. I sat down with CHA and we put together a plan of what projects we're going to do next year. They took these projects to their estimators and they put the estimate together. So for instance, like the paving, we know how many square feet need to be replaced, whether it's seal coating or complete replacement or mill and overlay. So those estimates got developed like that. The roof replacement, we know how many square feet of roof we need to have replaced. So CHA's estimators are taking historical knowledge of projects that they've done and developing estimates based on that cost.
So two questions more, like who actually does the measuring? Do you do it or is somebody else, you get the crew to go out there and measure what needs, assess it and then do the measurement?
So Mike and I actually walked these areas. The roof is a little bit different because we have drawings, so we know what the square footage is. But we walked the paving at both North and Newtown to make sure that we understood the entire scope and what we needed, so that an accurate cost estimate could be developed.
Okay, and last question was with CHA and the estimates or any other services you use, in your experience, do the bids usually come in right around there, above, below, or is it kind of just random?
So the past, I guess, this will be my third summer coming up. So the past 2 years, the cost estimates have been pretty spot on. We've been able to flex up and down. A couple projects will come in over budget, but then a couple projects come in budget so that we don't exceed that $6 million that we allocate each year. Now this year, we're only at $4,347 and I can't read.
You got it.
Yeah, $4,347,140. But that's also anticipating that next year, we're gonna have additional roof replacements. And then the following year, south roof is gonna be coming up. So we need to make sure that we're budgeting the correct amount of money so that we have money in the future to spend as well.
This might have been something else, or with another project or slide or a different bucket, as you said. But I thought every summer we did something with the playgrounds.
So we are. We have 4 more playgrounds. We are currently finishing up design, actually have meetings at 3 schools to review the design, and then we're gonna be going out to bid. So I'm gonna be coming to you guys February, March-ish with those bids for approval to finish off the 4 playgrounds.
Is that included in the summer project, or is that somewhere in another bucket somewhere?
So it's in another bucket
Okay,
somewhere.
that's fine.
So within the, I think it was capital reserve, we allocated $2 million to my head, and that's the money that we're gonna be finishing spending on the 4 playgrounds.
Yeah, I just know we used to do the projects in the summer, that's why I used to figure that out.
Yes, it is a summer project, but it's not out of the summer project budget.
Thank you.
Lots of points. Any other questions?
Anybody else? No?
No, we still have, so
You're not free yet.
2 items. I'm sorry.
She did that.
Okay, go ahead.
It'll be really quick.
Taking
You
notes.
also sent us an RFP for the, all of these new projects that we talked about.
You can actually download them on our website, but we'll make sure that you guys have copies of the RFPs for all of them as well.
Great.
And then the 2 agenda items that I have coming up, the Rock Gold softball modified agreement, and then the kitchen equipment, where a gas steamer replacement for, is it north or south, Tony? I think it's north.
You said north earlier.
Okay. Bid 2551, that'll be coming in to replace that kitchen equipment.
There's your steamer.
Got it. Making, I don't know,
Probably gonna
asparagus,
be a little more.
dumplings, I don't know what else.
Wait for the veggies.
Anything else? Anyone else? We are adjourned.
So we're off for now.